Welcome back, everybody, to the Meet the Bus podcast. I am your host, Jeffrey Reckes, and this week we are back for episode 18. And I am very excited today for my guest who I'm having on the podcast. It's been a while since I've gotten to talk to him. He marched the Lions Drum Corps in 2016. He marched Oregon Crusaders with me in 2017. He was a trombone soloist in the Trombone Ensemble for the Cavaliers in 2018. He was on the Cavaliers brass staff from 2019 to 2022. And he was on the Spirit of Atlanta brass staff this past season for 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on Matthew Ezeh. Welcome on, sir. How you doing?
I'm chilling, man. Chilling. Living in LA. You know what I'm saying? I'll give the rundown from like the back end of last year to now. High school band director at Luella High School, Metro Atlanta area. Left that job May of last year. Doing a lot of freelance teaching. Spirit, a couple high schools in Georgia too. And then middle of September of last year, moved to LA in pursuit of working in the music industry as a music supervisor in TV and film. So I interned at Angry Mob Music Publishing in town, did that this last semester. And then I'll be interning at Warner Music starting next week.
Ezeh is going to be a superstar.
Trying, Lord willing. Do that, and then I still teach private brass lessons in town as well. So that's kind of that's what's new with me right now. There's been a lot of change in the last few months. So
absolutely, yeah. I know that's right. Absolutely. Getting into, I ask everybody who's come on who plays an instrument. First question I always ask is, what inspired you to pick up your instrument?
So I lived in New Jersey in elementary school, and you can start like a string instrument in third grade, band instrument in fourth grade. So in third grade, I picked up cello. I was really liking it, right? Actually, let me even go before that. In like the second grade, I hate how corny the story is, but I'll never forget it. The second grade, teacher was out, so we had a sub. Someone just like running through School of Rock videos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Schoolhouse Rock, whatever it's called. Right?
Yeah.
And we're going through, and there's like a bunch of them about music. We're just going through. There's a video that they did about every single instrument. All right. And we got to the one about trombone, and I liked the song, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to play trombone. That's in second grade. Third grade, you can pick a string instrument. So I pick up cello. It's cool. It's fine. I like it. Get to fourth grade.
Wait, did you say third grade you can pick up a string instrument?
Yeah.
Damn. That's insane. Yeah. Oh, my God. I think I was just like playing recorder in like third grade, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah, right. Which is also kind of the setup out here on the West Coast, too. Like you can people start in band and orchestra like in elementary school. It's quite, I like that. God. I like that. And I didn't realize that was a luxury until like I moved to the South. But yeah, picked up cello in third grade. It was cool. It was fine. I got to fourth grade, and then they're like, all right, you can test out on the band instrument. I was like, oh, I just want to play trombone. Test on the trombone. And they're like, yeah, you could play this instrument. Like, you want to try anything else? And I was like, nah, I'm good.
This is it. What was it for you? Was it just like the video that just gave away? You're like, that sounds cool. I like the way that sounds.
And dude, I haven't even gone back and rewatched that video. Mostly because I just like the mystery behind it. I probably will never go back and even find that video. But yeah, I just really liked the song that was with the trombone, and it was doing like a bunch of glisses and shit. And I was like, oh, I'll fuck with this. But looking back on it now, I do think, and I was talking with a couple of buddies at the store where I get the lessons at. I was like, I think some people are just the same way, like certain frequencies or certain sounds are like very grating to your ear. I think in the same way, there's a certain sound that you really, really like. Because like cello and trombone are very similar. That they're in the same range. They read the same clef. The literature can sometimes overlap depending on what you're playing, I guess. So I think as a kid, I was just really attracted to that tenor voice or to that lower sounding frequencies as a kid. I picked the cello. I mean, I could have picked violin or viola, but I just liked cello. So I picked that. And then I think even just hearing the sound of a trombone, I think that sound was just very attractive to me as a kid.
That's the coolest way I've heard anybody talk about how they pick their instrument. Like for me, I was just like a dumb third grader. I was like, bro, that's shiny, super loud. Get me out there. I'm like, it's shiny, it's silver. I want that. It sounds loud. They play high. I like that. That sounds fun. That was it. That was literally it.
No, I just heard it. It was like, I don't even know if it was like informational or just like, here's a trombone and it can be a slide whistle. I don't know. Yeah, but I fuck with it enough. And then I didn't even want to try out anything else. Like I literally only wanted to try out the trombone.
This is it.
Could care less about anything else. So, yeah, that's kind of how I started and then did it through middle school and high school and college. Got my degree in music ed. Yeah, that's kind of. I guess that's how I got started in band for sure.
The story of the trombone.
Yeah.
So hopping into like our drum corps portion here, talking about drum corps. How were you introduced to drum corps?
Found out about it in high school. Our band director would take, you would always catch the Atlanta show, which is a great show to catch. My
Yeah.
first drum corps show was like Atlanta show 2011. Yeah, that was my first drum corps show.
Oh my god.
And I thought it was super. I thought it was super cool, but it was like, oh, it was just a field trip during band camp with like all my friends from band.
Mhm.
I don't think I was like super as far as like being like a really avid fan of drum corps. Probably wasn't until 2013. I think a lot of those shows stuck in my head, like obviously the Crown show, the BD show, the Cadet show, banger, the Blue Coat show, banger. Like that at that time, I really liked the Cavaliers show in 2013 too.
Ooh, was that? Which one was that again?
Secret Society.
Secret Society. Okay.
Yeah, with the cloaks, that opener's hot from a design standpoint. Yeah, that opener's hot. Even the SCV show, I thought it was at the time I thought it was corny, but the horn line was fucking plain. Even though I go back and watch that video, it's like, yeah, them had some dogs in that horn line. Yeah, I think a lot of those shows from 2013 really stuck with me. So that's when I was like a real fan of drum corps. But even then, like it seemed like such a far away. I never thought I could do it. Like to say that drum corps was a dream was not a dream for me because it was like, oh, it's just a thing that like professional musicians. I never even researched like the audition process.
Who's in it? Like who's performing in this?
Yeah, I had no idea what it was set up as. So I was just really just a fan of it. And then fast forward to college, 2016. Yeah, my sophomore year of college, and my buddy Gideon and Douglas are like, hey, we're marching in this DCA group north of Atlanta, and there's an open baritone hole. Open euphonium hole, because there is a difference.
No disrespect.
No disrespect to my baritone players. Stand with y'all. But I've also never marched baritone. I actually only marched euphonium and trombone. Yeah, they were like, hey, there's an open hole, and we kind of need rides every weekend to go do this. So can you fill the hole? And I was like, okay, let's do this.
Sure.
So it was literally like a pretty happenstance thing. It was at that point, I didn't even think I could go audition for a drum corps. I knew very, very little about the process. So I did that. And then being surrounded by all those people who knew about drum corps and had either marched before or hoping to march in other drum corps, like actual in the DCI circuit for real. I was like, oh, this is like something that you can like go and do and audition and like actually be a part of. So it was kind of like my actual forward. Like I was a fan all through high school. Yeah. But then it wasn't until like my second year in college I was like, oh, you can actually just go.
I can do this. I can go do this. Yeah. What was it like? Yeah. I'm curious about the DCA scene because that's like all age, which they're bringing that back. This year I saw they're doing like the whole all age thing again. Was that kind of like, were there like 40-year-olds doing Alliance with y'all or like?
So at Alliance, so there were at the time, so Alliance doesn't exist anymore. All right. That was actually the last season that it existed. RP to Alliance, right? And at the time, but in 2016, there were two DCA corps in Atlanta. There was Alliance and then there was Atlanta CV. And they've been around for quite a long time, right? And it was just, I think it was like in that scene in Atlanta between those two DCA corps, like if you're like a grown real life adult, you go march in Atlanta CV. But if you're just like in high school and you just want to do drum corps because you're just like a fan, you go do Alliance. So that was kind of the distinction. So at Alliance, there wasn't really. I mean, there was one dude on the snare line. All love to that man. Insane, but he lived in Texas at the time and was flying in every weekend for rehearsals.
Oh hell!
Had a wife and kids. I was like, that was my first instance of.
I said, you're so brave for that shit, dude.
I said, is this drum corps shit really that deep, bro? You got kids, homie.
You have a whole ass family. You said, sorry, I gotta go hang. I gotta go perform there.
That was crazy.
They said, are you getting paid?
His wife was cool with it. I guess his kids was cool. I remember his wife and kids came out for finals up in Rochester. I was like, hey, all right.
How do you let him do this shit?
If y'all like it, I love it. If y'all like it, I love it. Outside of that guy, wasn't like a bunch of like real grown adults. I remember that horn line was quite small, very, very young. A lot of the line was in high school.
For sure.
That was my first time doing drum corps, so I was super green, and I'm coming into the middle of the season, so they already had like I think the first two movements on the show or something like that. So I'm running around like a chicken with his head cut off, really like trying to learn that show and trying to learn how to do drum corps and shit like that. I was a decent player at that time. Couldn't march worth a damn though, which I just said. We're talking about the Cavaliers, and anybody who marches me at Alliance probably has a lot of shit to talk to them. Please keep it to yourself because whatever you have to say. It's probably correct. Please leave me alone. I spent time doing the education, and I've grown as an individual. Yeah, it was really bad. Visually,
We need
super
we need
bad.
Alliance people who march with Ezeh. Let us know. Give us some Ezeh stories in the comment section. Come
You
on now.
actually no.
The
Actually, no.
comments are
But yeah,
blocked for this video and this video only.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. So yeah, there wasn't like a significant older population. There was
Okay,
pretty young drum corps in the horn line side. There was a couple older cats in drumline land and in guard
for
land.
sure.
And then the staff was honestly pretty young at that time too, as well. At least I remember because the horn line. So brass team was also the visual team. There was like a big, which I'm still really not super privy to because again I came after all this drama happened with the staff at that time. Really still couldn't speak on that in full
Mm,
detail, but basically the brass staff and the visual staff were kind of just one thing
one.
at that time. Yeah, and it was honest. It was a small crew, but it was a good crew, and they
Mhm.
really cared about us. And there were some good teachers, and I think it was dudes. It was Dylan Watkins who marched Cavaliers in 2013, Jared
Okay.
Kaufman as well marched Cavaliers in 2011. I looked at those guys as teachers a lot, so I think it was kind of like the little rumblings of me like ending up marching at Cavaliers later down the line. But
Hmm.
it was a good time. A lot of my drum corps career, which we'll talk about later on, I was
Yeah.
really oblivious to like what was going on around me and in the drum
Yeah.
corps, which I think in turn probably made me have a better experience than if I was like super like
If you knew way
privy.
too much,
Yeah,
yeah.
probably would have had less fun. But Alliance was dope. It was and as far as like a first foray in the drum corps, I mean, it was weird, but it was cool. And then Jeffrey Peterson, who was a corps director at the time,
Yeah.
really great guy. Again, probably one of the reasons why I kept doing drum corps after that too. So
Yeah.
that was a good time.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, like we've talked about this a couple episodes back with my guy Taylor Womack. He talked about like the perfect amount of time for someone to march drum corps is like 3 years. You get your rookie year to like get involved in the activity, second year to be a second year vet, do your thing, but your third year to shine, to do that, and
Mhm.
then afterwards you're done. You had your time, you had your 3 years, and you're out. And I completely agree with that now, looking back, because by the time I got to like year 3 and year 4, and we're watching all of this shit fall apart, like you're talking about, you're like, the shit that's happening around me, you're like,
Mhm.
I feel like I know too much. And while this is still fun, I'm like, I know too much about what's happening behind the scenes. And part of me is a little like, this is fun, but like, I'm a little sick at what's happening like behind the scenes. And what I do know about this activity, it gets, like I said last week, there's some really great positives about this activity, but there's also some glaring negatives.
For sure, no, for sure, and
Yeah.
I think 3 years is a cozy. I think it is a cozy amount of time.
Yeah.
I think my only amendment to that would be like at the same place because I
Yeah.
marched 3 years of drum corps, marched Alliance, and then I was big time rookie at Alliance, and then I marched Oregon, first time doing like having going on tour and shit like that. I was a
The
rookie
full
there,
thing. Yeah.
right? And then I go to Cavaliers, and I was a rookout that year
Yeah.
too. I think, I mean, I'm really cool on my drum corps career. I don't really spend any amount of time. I'm like, man, I wish I would have had one more. I wish I would have got one more year in. And I still got to experience that when I got to intern at Cavaliers in 2019. Like
Mhm.
going back to a drum corps where like I know the people and I know the staff, and it's like, oh, this is when people's drum corps feels like a second home because you're going back to a place of following someone having not seen them for the better part of a year and getting
Yeah.
to see them all again. Getting to experience that as a staff member, I was super duper thankful for.
Yeah.
But I was just like a forever rookie through my drum corps career. I mean, again, it's not that deep. I'm not emotional about it or anything like that.
It is an interesting perspective though, because like you never really get to like settle in with like a staff or a group of people. You're
Yeah,
constantly just
yeah.
moving around and you know the people that you march with. But like there is something to that of like I got 3 years at Oregon and like by 2018, like it was like a home. Like no matter how the shit ended, like for me, it was just like, man, I can always come back here. And these people to me, it's like a home. It's like, and then as soon as you
Sorry,
got some.
I'm only laughing because you said that in 2018, then it didn't come back. That's all.
And then it didn't come back. And then right. And then I had to have my 1 year and I was done. And I was done. I was
Hey,
done, bro.
man.
I was done. It's okay though. Honestly, I feel the same way. Like I had the opportunity to go do 22 and I was just like, nah. Cause like
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it was like, yeah, I felt like I knew too much. And I kind of just was like, nah, taking a step back. Like I'm out of here. Like I'm in year 4 going to Blue Knights and I'm a rookie again in year 4.
Mhm.
And it's so
Mm.
weird. Like I'm more comfortable with it at that point because I'm like, I've done this for a couple years now. I know how to kind of get myself acclimated with a group of people. But like, it's still like, damn, I'm a fucking rookie again, dude. You have to like
Mm.
make your way through everybody in the, everybody in the core and everything like that. So it's just, it's a time. But talking about Oregon, how did OC come into the picture for you after your season with the Lions?
It's such a funny. I don't really know. Honestly.
I'm so curious about that because you're in Atlanta at this point when Oregon comes around, right? So how the fuck did that come into your view?
Dude, I'm like, yeah, I want to do drum corps and I don't really know where to march at. And at that time, Spirit wasn't doing so hot competitively. And there were like rumbles of them maybe folding or something like that. Because this is like 2016 to 20. I believe March of 2016 show. A good friend of mine, Cody. 15 was bad. 16 was At that point, I think the rep, and I will speak this, I'm not like the representative for like Georgia marching band or drum corps music or anything like that. So please, y'all don't come for me. Anyways, at that time, I think the feelings about Spirit were like there are 3 reasons to march Spirit. It's close, it's nearby, and it's close to home. Like those are like the running joke.
That's it.
A lot of the marching band people that I was talking to at that time. So I was like, man,
this kind of sounds like shit.
I think, again, and it's like, did I watch the 2016 Oregon show? Yeah. At that time, did I think those uniforms were fucking lame? Yeah.
Yeah, they were lame.
Actually,
I can't believe you watched that shit and then we're like, I want to go be with this group.
I think it was just kind of random. I think I just like closed my eyes and just like picked the drum corps. I really don't remember how I like got into audition. Cause I didn't know a soul over. I didn't know a staff member, someone who had marched the previous season. I didn't know literally a soul over there.
Right.
I think I might have also just looked at the competitive result. And again, at this point, I'm still thinking that like, oh, like if you're winning rings and you're in the top 6 at drum corps, it's like, oh, like you are a real life professional musician. So I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't even audition at any of those places. Let me just audition somewhere, not in finals or something like that. And I was like, oh, Oregon seems like I could probably maybe swing a contract maybe after a couple camps here and there. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. So I think it just seemed like a safe bet. It seemed kind of accessible, which I guess the drum corps don't exist anymore, so I don't feel that bad. I'm not trying to shit talk a drum corps that doesn't exist, but it's like, I think I'll probably make a check out there.
After we did last week for a fucking hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
So it's like, it seems like I could probably maybe make it, and it's not Spirit. So yeah, fuck it. Let me go fly to, I guess I flew out to Texas for the audition camp. That's kind of what brought me there. I don't even think there's like a show. Again, I did like in 16 the 6-man bass line as opposed to 5. I think that was tight. I think the videos from that summer too, as far as around the drum line, were really dope. The content that I made, shout out to that media team, I guess they did a good job like showcasing them in a cool way.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't think there was. I think the 2014 was that Nevermore? I don't remember.
Oh, 2014 show, yeah, Nevermore.
Oh, real Oregon.
Nice memory there. Good knowledge. He's got the knowledge. He knows.
I think that show was fine. I think I liked it at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's a really a big non-answer for like. I guess
you're just I think I can do it. Cool. It's so funny because honestly, like the majority of people, like the fact that you just went out and you were like, yeah, okay, I could do this. And then you just picked it. Like so many people I marched with, including myself, like we all got cut from somewhere. And then the caption heads were like, hey, Oregon's always taking people. And you're like,
hey, I had a pretty short drum corps career. It's only 3 years. All right. But I can't say never got cut. I'm not trying to flex. I'm not trying to. Again, for people who don't know me, I am bullshitting. I feel like I just have to picture. And that is no. Yeah, never been cut. Never will get cut. Ain't no around this. We don't lose auditions on this side.
I'm the greatest to ever fucking do it. I've never been told no.
If I'm going to the camp, they're giving me a contract. If they see me at the camp, they put it in my hand. If I flew in on Friday for that camp, they're already printing the contract on Friday. They're just giving it to me on Sunday with everybody else.
They are sizing my uniform up in November as I walk in.
In November. We don't cut. Recommended for we ain't never. No. I don't know what that's like.
Like staff, they said to the top. You're the brass caption head right now.
Yeah, it's like they don't play by me. They don't. They
look at your resume, bro. You're applying for a job. You're going to Warner, and you're like, by the way, just some skills and resources. I've never been cut, so just like put that into consideration.
It's so funny that you say that because I feel like, and I've made that joke.
You put that on your resume?
But no, no, I did not. Did not put that on my resume. But the joke is that I've made that to people in the past, and me trying to like kind of do like a career shift. Like, dude, I've applied. I've gotten so many knows. I think the one time making that joke about never getting cut, I think God was like, okay, we're gonna keep you humble then. Because I mean,
Okay.
from summer of 23, I guess,
Yeah.
through like I guess the end of last year, I had applied to like a minimum of 50 jobs in internships.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like an obscene amount of into like application, sent a resume, cover letter, all that to like over 50 different places. Out of all those places, got 2 interviews and only one, and then I ended up at Angry Mob. So it's like I know what no's feel like. Again, for people who don't know me, I know what no's feel like. I've lost
Yeah.
more than I've won. My wins are substantial, and I love them, but I've taken many L's.
But we'll put that one right up on the fridge, bro. You never got cut from DCI. That's something you're taking that one to the grave. If you're putting anything on the tombstone, never been cut.
Yeah, never
3
been
words.
cut.
Never
I
been
will
cut.
say though, I guess you weren't at that camp, but that first Oregon camp I went to, man, I was like, mental health is at like an all-time low. This is like fall 2016. Mental health at an all-time low. So I went into college. My mom was a doctor. She wanted me to be a doctor. I went into college freshman year, fall 2015. As like a biology major, pre-med, all that. I knew I didn't want to do it. And then I found out. I was like, oh, I definitely don't want to do it. All right. So I'm going to switch to music. So then in fall 2016, I started the music degree. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing what I want to do. This isn't that. It's way harder than I thought it would be. So then like academically, I'm not doing super well. All right. I'm working at Papa John's at the time. The job was fucking miserable. I'm still doing Alliance on the weekends. So like I'm tired all the time. I'm feeling like really down on myself about like, it was like me as a musician and like, why did I even switch to this major? I'm in a really bad space. But the whole time I'm like, and then once I make the decision to try for Oregon, I'm like, look, y'all, if I don't make Oregon Crusaders, I don't know what I'm gonna do. That was like my last. that camp was like in December, like finals week at college and shit too. So I was like, "This is I need something to go right in my life. And if I don't get this contract, I don't know what I'm gonna do." It's in a really bad spot at that time, right? Fly to Texas to do this camp. All right, fly Friday night or whatever. I guess I don't know if there was a rehearsal or anything Friday night. I don't remember, but Saturday morning we're like the full rehearsal day, right? And there's like maybe 15 brass people at this camp. It's quite small, which I thought was weird. But again, I didn't really know about. That was my first drum corps camp auditioning, right? So I didn't really know. But I was like, oh, all right, it's whatever. I don't care. We're at a dance block with Josh Dawes. Shout out Josh, right? And we're doing sachets. All right. I have no dance training, by the way, none whatsoever from like marching band in college or in high school or even at Alliance, right? We're doing sachets, and I just land wrong and just blow my fucking knee out. This is like the first like 30 minutes of the day.
Oh shit!
At this camp, I blow my knee out. It like dislocates and pops itself back in. So we're like,
oh
yeah, dude. And I hit the ground. And like Josh is like, yo, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. All right, went to the bathroom.
I'm not getting cut right now. Don't say shit.
I go to the bathroom. I cry for like 2 minutes. And I go
gotta
back.
Have a warrior spirit.
Yeah, right. Here's my thing: is I can suffer through the pain, but once the swelling kicks in, then I won't be able to march. Right? I just really wanted the brass team to call me in for my audition that day. Right? But they were doing like some of them on Saturday and then some of them on Sunday. Okay. And I was like, please call me in today. If not, and like over the night, my knee's gonna fucking blow up, and then I'm fucking finished. They don't call me in on Saturday. All right. We go to the housing site, which I think was like a camp. I don't know. We were like in like I don't know what the fuck it was. I don't remember. And then someone is like, oh hey, this kid, this kid like blew his knee out. Can we get him some ice or something? And I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was core director or somebody else. They gave me, shit you not, a pack of frozen peas and said, put this on your knee for the night. So I'm in bed with these peas on my knee.
Welcome to the Oregon Crusaders.
Literally, which I'm sure was indicative of so many other things that happened.
Bro, in 2018, they had one of my best friends, the trumpet soloist, rub out a fucking hairline fracture with a tennis ball all summer. Like, come on. They kept telling him, he was like, my shin fucking hurts. Like, this shit hurts. Is there anything we can do? They would have him roll it out every single day. And then he went and got it checked out in his hometown in San Antonio. He goes and gets it checked out. And he's like, guys, I have to go home. And we're like, what? And he's like, I have a fracture. Like, my shin. Like, I'm going to have to wear a boot the rest of the season. Like, I've been rolling out a fracture the whole season. We're like, oh, welcome to the Oregon Crusaders, dude.
Yeah. So I have this pack of peas on my knee, and I'm just like tearing up in bed because I'm just like, I'm cooked. I'm finished. I'm going to be hobbling in my audition. I can't do anything. I've literally been practicing for months.
Yeah.
Anyways, wake up the next morning. My knee is the size of my big ass fucking head. All right. Going to the audition. Think Lisa Tatum. Love her. She was in there.
Shout
Tim
out
was in
Lisa
there
Tatum.
too. I don't know who else was in there. I know definitely those two.
Mhm.
And I think we had to do like a lip slur on the move and maybe like a prepared piece or some shit. I forget what. And they were like, hey, you're marching kind of. I didn't say anything about the injury. I remember actually right before I go in, I'm talking to Anna Quinneman. All right. And I'm like, yeah, like I busted my knee and like, I don't know how I'm going to march. And she's just, which is honestly like, she said what she could have said. She was just like, I mean, kind of gotta do it. And I'm like,
you're like scared. Like, can you give me any help before I go in?
Like,
she's like,
I was like,
you're next. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically that. Basically that. I go in and it's like hobble through this box drill with this lip slur. And
they gotta
like,
be able to tell. They like look at your knee like automatically. Like, oh fuck.
Like, I didn't say anything to them. I don't know. To this day, I don't know if anybody said anything to them either. But I don't know. But I think later that day, before we're all like about to catch our flights and shit, they're like, "Here's your contract," and I'm like, "Let's go, let's go."
He did it on one knee.
I did it on
one knee.
They took my knee away, but they couldn't take the contract away. Type shit.
Never got cut.
That shit I'm on. Never got cut. But hey, though, that was also my first time because there were some other dudes. I remember hearing them like in brass rehearsal, and I was like, man, hey, I may not be that good, but that guy over there fucking sucks. So maybe it'll be okay. I get my contract. I'm like, let's go. And then I see some dudes who was like clearly ass, and they're like, yo, I got a contract too. I said,
what the fuck are we doing here this summer?
Oh my
God. It's interesting. No, it's interesting. I bet you'll get better.
But I'm like, hey, you know, not my business. I got my contract. Out of the bajillion thing that have went wrong in the fall of 2016, this one thing went right. So I'm gonna take my W and fly back. So yeah, that's my incredibly long-winded story about my first drum corps camp ever. And my knee was honestly never the same. My left knee is still kind of bummy to this day. I didn't fit actually. Yeah. So yeah, it still kind of feels funny every now and then, but it's fine. We used to march like that season of drum corps and another one, so we're good.
And another one, and like a really hard show, like in 2 years, like hard ass shows on Euphonium, by the way, and never got cut. Let's just add that. We're adding that back in. I'm interested to know, heading into that 2017 season, after you get the contract and we go to move-ins and everything, we did our first year of 2 at this housing site in the middle of nowhere. And at this point, you have DCA experience going out with an all-age group, and that whole kind of situation of like weekend camps and then like an interesting tour schedule. And then they're telling you like, hey, for move-ins, we're going out to these cabins in the middle of fucking nowhere in Oregon called Camp Howard, and we're gonna shack up here for like 2.5 weeks in the middle of nowhere where there's only like one spot where you can get Wi-Fi and connection to like talk to people. You know what?
Oh God, dude.
What was your perspective on that when they're like, yes, I'm gonna do my first season world-class drum corps, and they're like, here's where we're starting, and you're like, what's the reaction?
I didn't know. Again, a lot of my drum corps career, my first year at Oregon, my only year at Oregon, I was 20 years old at the time, right? So I'm a drum corps rookie, but I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm not like 16 and I don't know how the world works, right? So like, I have like a decent sense of self as well. So I know who I am, and I just kind of see like, but I'm still new to drum corps, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of the stuff that was like drum corps specific, I didn't really have a frame of reference to compare it to. It's like Alliance was experienced, but I went in like halfway through the season, and like a lot of that was cobbled together and band-aided together, putting that show together and stuff too. So I didn't have a frame of reference for the most part. So
yeah,
everything that happened, I was like, oh, I guess this is just what drum corps is. It's like, oh, okay, we're just gonna be on the side of a mountain for 2.5 weeks. All right, I guess that's what drum corps is. Mm-hmm. Or there's like no service here at all, and I can barely talk to anybody from home. Guess that's what drum corps is.
There's a fucking after lunch, right before our brass rehearsal, there's a fucking bear running up the side of the mountain that they have to like go shoot the fucking bear. And then Tim's like, all right, cool. So like, don't come to brass block for like 30 minutes. We got to take care of this bear. And we're like, what? There's a fucking bear? And then like this golf cart with like 2 rangers like are coming up, and they're like, we got it from here.
Like shit like that's happening. I'm like, Guess that's what
That's what's happening everywhere. That's what's happening at BD right now. Dealing with this shit.
Right. So yeah, I think again, not having that frame of reference or anything to compare it to, I'm like, well, as far as like drum corps is concerned, I guess this is what it is. And I'm just a real thug it out sort of person. So I mean, I think a lot of the shit that we dealt with at Oregon, we should not have. I often say to people like that's one of the last seasons of drum corps where like you hear old school stories about drum corps and kids just getting the shit beat out of them for the sake of the show and shit. I feel like that experience is probably one of the last few in like that borderline abusive sort of way. I mean, you remember like there were brass rehearsals where we got nothing done.
We ran up the fucking mountain at Camp Howard, dude, with the breathing tubes in. Like, can you imagine? Dude, that's straight out of a fucking horror movie right there, bro. Like, can we get that in a horror movie where it's just a block of kids with these, like, PCP, like, these, like, tubes in their mouth, like, just running in time, like, just breathing through all it. Like, that shit, and, like, we did it up a mountain, too. That was kind of wild. I'm not going to lie. That might have been, to me, like that was the toughest thing I think I've done, like in drum corps, was starting at the bottom of the mountain in a block, and I was at the front, so I was like, I can't fuck it up, like I can't drop, I have to go, because if I fall up this mountain, I'm fucking everybody behind me, because like somebody I think fell while we were going, and we had to be like, stop.
Oh, brother, yeah. I mean, looking back at all that, right? Having taught drum corps for like what. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Damn, 4 or 5 years now, which is crazy to say out loud that I've like taught drum corps for that long. Right, yeah, old as fuck. Super old guy over here. It's like looking back now, it's like, all right, what would I do now if I was an educator on that staff?
What would you do? I'm curious.
Here's the thing, all right, if I'm on that brass staff, I'm looking at the kids that we had in front of me, that 2017 horn line. Day one of the season were complete ass. It's like from like a pure brass playing facility standpoint, most of these kids are way below where they need to be. From just a physical fitness standpoint, not where the fuck they need to be as well.
There was no sense of like a training program.
Oh, none at all in the winter. As far as like getting, maybe I think there was a little bit of. Let me not, because again, I love that 2017 visual team in my heart.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh my god,
and there was.
bro.
So I don't want to do them dirty. There was some semblance. I don't remember specifically. There was some semblance of like a get your fucking body together before you come out here for the summer. But most of that whole line did not do that. And I don't think, I mean, I did it, but I don't think to the extent that I think that I needed it for.
Yeah.
Or like, I didn't understand what drum corps was going to ask me to do. So I didn't max out that program or really like cross all my T's and dot my I's like I probably should have at that moment in time. So yeah, you have an out of shape drum corps that really can't play with the dance. So what do you do? A lot of it is like conditioning. I think that's what Tim was trying to get us to do in some comedically heinous ways. I think as an educator now, the breathing up the mountain, running up the mountain, if you're in this beautiful scenic place and where you can do some shit like that and you need to condition, like, yeah, we should do that. Are pedagogically speaking, are those tubes helpful in that scenario? No. I think especially when I zoom out and I think about what did I really learn from that season? Is there a lot of pedagogical knowledge? Probably not. And I also think it's just such a far away time for me. And then also I think a lot of my pedagogical knowledge, as far as teaching marching band and drum corps, even just like brass pedagogy, I think comes a lot from the guys I was with at Cavaliers, both when I marched and when I was teaching. But we did get fucking skinny, which on the surface level,
that's good.
This is one of those situations where it's like, I have a buddy from college who was like, yeah, I would always make jokes like, yo, like come train my marching band when I was at Llewellyn. Like come train my marching band. He's like, hey, he marched like in high school. Right? And he was like, hey, you might not get good, but we're gonna get fit. And I think that was what marching in Oregon Crusaders felt like. Did we get good? Up for debate.
But we got fit as fuck.
Hey, we was
skinniest I've ever been in my life was at OC. Every single time it was the skinniest I've ever been.
For sure.
Jesus Christ. Every single fucking time. I think so much of that season of why so many things happened the way they did, right when I got there in 2016, it had a sense of like a vet culture where like a lot of returning members like really influenced younger members and new members to be like, yes, like come back. This is a really storied organization. No matter where we're placing, this is a really special place where a lot of vets come back to. It was a very normal thing to see like 5-6 year vets, which to me, I thought that's just what happened everywhere. And the truth is that really doesn't happen like that. But it was kind of cool that it happened at a place like OC, because I think what happens is groups who are small like that, who have, new staff turnovers often, like we did at OC, and, not that great vet retention. You kind of just have to, like, especially with like getting kids in shape, getting kids ready to go. When you have all of that newness and such like a roster of rookies, like they have no idea what to expect. And then you have a new staff trying to figure out what the culture is going to be and kind of what you guys are going to be like enforcing. I think it's just hard because like, especially because we had so many people who were new to drum corps that season too. I mean, we had a fucking flute player in the trumpet section, bro. So it was just like, I feel like we were all learning like every single day how to just, it was like, instead of like at BK where it was very much like we're trying to create a production in an art and then we're trying to go compete against everybody. Like it was like we got to learn how to do drum corps. Like we have to learn how to be people and all that.
That was 27. I think that was like the first probably month in 2017 that Oregon was like, this is just a horn line that doesn't know how to do drum corps. But I mean, there's also like, what is drum corps? Which I don't know how to answer that question. But like, I think what it was,
you just dropped a whole deal. What is?
I know. Like what that was to like a Tim Snyder. Was it what it needed to be? Looking back now, maybe not. Like, did we have to have our horns clean before every fucking like polished before every block
in spring training? Do you remember the water jug thing too?
Yeah,
where they like.
Which I can get the frustration behind that because that's like a safety thing. Like you just need to be fucking hydrating all the time.
Right.
Watching dude. It's like Lisa's giving a master class of some buzzing and shit in the circle, and Tim is just walking around throwing jugs. They're empty.
I'll never forget the day he's like, people just wouldn't do it, which is like, I get that. Like, fill up your jug. People would just be like, no, it's cloudy out. I can fill it up like 3/4. And I'm like, no, bro. Just fill it up, please. Fill it up, please. Like, if they're going to check, just fucking fill it. I don't care if the line's long. Just wait in it. Get there earlier. But I'm like, you don't want to be like, I just remember, even if it was like, they could feel if it was 3/4. I still to this day, like when I talk about it again, I'm like, God, I remember how much anxiety I had. Like we'd be breathing and I would like, hold position, everything, hand behind my back. And I'm like looking as I'm breathing and I'm counting. I'm like, are they at my water jug yet? I'm like, please God, please God, please God. Because it would just be like, even if it was 3/4, they would know and they'd pick it up and then they just twist it and they dump the whole thing out and be like, man. And run up the hill. I remember like the day that like I think someone just had it like flat out almost empty and he just dumped it and he starts walking really slow. We're just standing there silent in the brass circle and he looks right at Michael Freeney. He goes, move, and he just takes it and it goes like perfect spiral 25 yards. Like I swear he's starting in the Super Bowl tomorrow. But it was just, I'll never forget. Do you remember this was at the same place at Western Mennonite? It was because of, I don't remember if it was the polishing thing or the water jug thing, but the day that we sat in the circle for an hour, the first hour of brass block at standby while the staff did whatever the fuck they want the whole time. To me,
that just unlocked the memory. I forgot that happened.
You also put that on a memory hold? Because literally as I started talking about it, it came back up in my memory. I forget about it all the time.
Again, there was a lot of things where, there are just some things you just have to do as a horn line. You have to, everyone has to get the block on time, and everyone has to have their workspace set up. Yeah. Everyone has to have their fucking water jugs filled. Right. Like you have to have before you can even start rehearsing, you have to have your shit together. Did they take that mentality to the fucking extreme? So much so where we literally lost rehearsal time because of it? Maybe.
It was the craziest thing still. Craziest thing I've still beside so much of that spring training, like we literally were in this circle for an hour and we can't talk. We can't move. People would barely move their arm and you should be like, stop moving. Don't move. And it's just like so much of it. I remember at one point they put a fucking a minor 2 interval on the speaker. And I vividly remember they just played this tone, minor second, half step interval, and just played the ugliest thing to the speaker, turned it up, and they're all just playing it. They're throwing sticks in the ground. They're just walking around just playing the worst shit. And you're just sitting there like, oh my God, what is happening? I can't, my legs are getting stiff out here. And then finally after an hour, silence and just all right, bring it in. And
Yeah,
like
literally.
everyone,
Oh yeah, it's like fine.
I can't move my legs anymore, but here I go.
I keep saying, I'm sitting there, I'm just like, well, that's what drum corps is.
This is
You
what
know,
it
it's
is,
in a
though.
circle.
This is what it is.
So I think a lot of it was just like accepting it for what it is. And again,
Yeah.
I'm 20 years old, so I have a sense of self.
Yes.
And I think a lot of the techs were on the young side, had aged out only
Yeah.
like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years ago too.
Hmm.
So I was like, man, like even like I'm marching and Turner Hawkins, shout out Turner.
Shout out Turner, dude.
He was teching, and I'm like that's still my dog though. Like we'll just shoot the shit between blocks or something about music or whatever the fuck.
Right.
Even Tim, like I think a lot of people, I think Tim was scary. I think just his presence and how he ran the horn line was just, I think from its onset,
For sure.
kind of meant to like intimidate you into like doing the right things.
That's a
But
big thing. Yeah.
I think when you're 16, that might be the first time you're experiencing that, right?
Yeah.
But I'm 20 at the time, where it's like, oh, I've had, like my mom was like that at a certain point when I was growing
Right.
up, and
Yeah.
I've had teachers like that before too. So it's like to see just someone just run an incredibly tight fucking shit. It's like, oh, I mean,
It's a mental game for everybody else, but for me, I understand it's a mental game.
if you thug it out and just do what they tell you to do, and you're
Right.
honestly just like a genuinely chill sort of guy, they'll fuck with you. Like me and Tim was like I felt like we was pretty tight. Like in 17, and even like when he went over to Mandarins, he had reached out to me and asked, he's like, yo, what's your plan? What's this and that? I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I might be at Oregon, I might be at Cavaliers, I'm not sure yet. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, if you think about Mandarins, like, let me know this and that. And I think I was asking him questions about like something pedagogical related to it, and he like gave me some tips on that, you know. So I wasn't ever at a point where I was like scared of the staff
No.
or anything like that. And again, looking back now, I was like, man, a lot of that was bullshit. And should we have done it? Probably not. And even if we shouldn't have done it, did it even help us get any better? Probably
We were
not.
pretty ass at the end of that season. I try not to watch that show a lot.
I will say, having taught drum corps for a little while now, and have marched it, having taught it, and I'm sure you experienced this a little bit too. It's like it's hard to listen to drum corps in the same way now, as far as like, to just watch it as a fan and be like, oh, that was cool. Oh, they played like da 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 da. It's like I'm always like I have like a list of things that I like, and literally usually a long list of things that I don't like, depending on the group. So I'll watch the 2017 show,
Right.
and I'll be like,
and
hey.
you'll remember you doing it, and like you'll remember like the people, or even if you watch like newer shows, like it's so hard to have like a moment where you're just like, oh man, like being back as a fan, because especially if you do it, and especially for you being like an educator, you can have that moment in the beginning where it hits and you're like, oh, that's really cool, I like that, but I'm hearing all these other things, but I'm seeing all these other things, so it doesn't completely give me like the full goosebumps and shit I used to get, because I'm thinking about so much more now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get any goosebumps watching that show. I don't know. I think,
no.
All right, if I'm like broad
No.
strokes, all right, is the design where it needs to be? No.
We didn't have design.
We're removing all that well. No. Are we playing all that well? No. Specifically on that, like any technique feature, not happening. Our double tugging feature, when we spent time on it too, it was still really bad by the end of the season. Any playing on the move
was bad.
But hey, when we stand still, doing nothing on the lower body,
top 12,
and we have to play it, and we have to. I'm not sure. But I will say it is a decent sound. And granted, we were playing on like slide whistles and scrap metal, i.e. the system blues. So I mean, you're taking a horn line with like brass, like from like a brass playing perspective, not that strong on a horn that is just like even the best players can't make like a decent sound on it. So, but hey, again, standing still, full dynamic, not a bad
top
sound.
15 drum corps.
I would have to go and look at the other shows before I say that. But maybe top 15. Yeah,
top 18. Top 22.
There's only
22 groups.
Yeah,
but we're there.
But hey, we played loud, which that's for a lot of drum corps fans. That checks a lot of boxes. So
yeah, that's real.
What it was.
That is very real.
And I think a lot of the stuff that maybe went wrong with that season, I think out of the performers' hands. Again, that show design wise was really incoherent. And
I mean, we literally had the final set and the final prop like coming together. All of this was centered around side 145. When every other show you've ever seen in drum corps history, if they're going to center a set, they're probably going to do it on the 50, you know? And I think we were probably one of the only groups to ever do some shit like that. And everyone literally had a problem with it. They're looking when we learned it and we're like, why the fuck does this whole thing?
I would love to hear judges' tapes from that song. Especially on like the multiple tugging feature. I would love to hear what some of those judges had to say. I'm sure
Unrecognizable.
But hey, I think it taught me process. I think as anytime someone asks, what did you learn in drum corps? I think drum corps definitely taught me process of like just show up the fuck on time with all of your shit together.
Yes.
All right, and you just do what you're told. I think drum corps is not easy, but it is simple. It's not easy, but it is simple. Whereas like as long you trust your staff, you do exactly what they tell you to do, exactly how to do it, and you build that consistency every single day for however long the season is. And that's your job. And I think drum corps is like thinking about it like a very utilitarian mindset of like, this is a job at the end of the day. You clock the fuck in, you get your shit done, and then you clock out. Right. Yeah. So just thinking about that and just like learning that process, I think that was super useful to me. Again, I think it's applied to a bunch of different aspects of my life.
Yeah.
I think I definitely learned it at Oregon. Just like show up the fuck on time.
Be prepared.
With your horn fucking shining, have your workspace all set up. And this kind of segues into my time at Cavaliers because like Kevin and Drew and a lot of those guys, that was the first time at Cavaliers was going into the 2018 season, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm new to the drum corps. They're new to the drum corps too, and their process. And I guess Tim worked with Crown back in the day or something. Yeah. So maybe I guess it's a Crown thing. But like the first camp is all right. Let's build our workstation. I think actually I even remember like in the Facebook page leading up to camp, it's like, hey.
Here's what it's going to look like at camp.
Yeah. And to me, having been at Oregon, I'm like, oh, all right, this is usual. This is drum corps, cool. But a lot of like the old guy Cavaliers at that point in time never done anything like that, and they're like, what the fuck is this? What are they trying to do? This Crown bullshit. Again, but me, I'm like, this is what drum corps is, and now I'm at a different drum corps, and they're asking for the same thing. So you've only reinforced this idea of
this is easy to me.
Like,
it's not hard.
It has to be 80 dudes doing the exact same thing for however long the season is. Those are the people that win. Yeah, So like that being instilled very early on at Cavaliers, I think that being a part of that, I was like, oh, all right, this is why I could probably stay here and like finish out my drum corps career here. Is like, oh, this is something that I'm used to. It's a process and an ideal that like I know to be true, or that I agree with. So
and like it was like you got that discipline of being organized and really taking pride in your workstation. And it's like it's so like interesting in the drum corps world. We say all the time, people who do drum corps, it's just band. But talk to any normal person, it's like, no, that workstation is so valuable at the beginning of the beginning of a season when you're in that spring training preseason time when you're trying to, build this horn line up into the summer. Like things as simple as like your pencil needs to face the right, your jug handle needs to be facing, it needs to be centered into this part of the arc. Your pencil needs to be facing this way. The tuner needs to be facing this way. It can't just be on the towel. It needs to be faced this way. If we're going to fold our towels up, is it going to be one fold? It's the craziest shit that you think at the time doesn't matter. And then as you get older, you're like, okay, wait, I've just learned how to like keep myself organized. It's just, life lessons.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's like all that shit is like on the surface pretty fucking dumb and annoying for someone to, especially like when a staff member's like on your ass about fixing that shit. But I mean, outside of drum, anybody who's ever done anything well, and actually greater than that, anybody who's ever like been at the top of their game has won things, and it's all a construct, I guess. But it's like who's won rings and trophies, and whether it's an odd or NBA championship or whatever, it's like those are dudes who worked harder than everybody else and committed to a fucking process and committed to that unyieldingly so every single fucking day until they got what they were working for, whether that's a ring in any sort of activity, So it just made so much sense to me. I think coming out of Oregon and then going into Cavaliers. So I think that like that being kind of the mindset, I think kind of what made that a little bit of an easier transition, I think.
Absolutely. What kind of attracted you? What brought you to Cavaliers?
A couple of things. So I was back at Alliance. Two instructors I really gravitated towards is Jared Kaufman, who marched Cavaliers in 2011. Dylan Watkins, who marched Cavaliers in 2013. I thought those are guys really good people, great teachers, and I really looked up to those guys. All right. Also at Alliance, I had a good buddy, Evan Bennett, who ended up marching Cavaliers in 2017 while I was at Oregon. So we would see each other on the road, and I'd ask him how things are going. He's like, "Oh, I love it. This is great. Please," he like asked him all the time, like, "Please march here next year. Like, you would love it here. It'd be great."
Right.
All right. And then I see the 2017 show. It's fucking fire.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'll never forget finals night during the award ceremony. In fifth place, the Blue Coats, and everybody's like, "What the fuck is going on?" So fire. I was so fire.
Big
I think a
flop.
lot,
Big flop.
yeah, a lot of that played into auditioning at Cavaliers. So yeah, and my good buddy Evan was like, "No, like you'd love it here. Like audition here, give it a try." I'm like, "All right, I mean, last season, might as well. I mean, if it doesn't shake, I can probably just go back to Oregon too." So, and I was a fan of the Cavaliers shows too. I mean, I like 2013 a lot. 2017 was dope. Obviously, I like the early 2000s joints.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I was sold on the people that I knew from the organization. I thought they're all good people that I really enjoyed. And they're coming off of like a pretty decent season too. And I was like, yeah, let's
try it out. Something I noticed when I got there and when I auditioned in 2019 was just that the culture there seems to be so much different than any other drum corps I've auditioned at or just been around or heard about. Like I've auditioned with Troopers, Blue Knights, Cavaliers, Boston, and then obviously Oregon. So 5 groups out of there I've auditioned at, and then hearing about kind of everywhere else. It just seems like Cavaliers just have this unique, and I don't know if it's like their tradition or the all male thing, but like I kind of want to hear from you being there on staff and then as a member, what makes that culture so unique? It just seems like it's such a special bond, like a brotherhood type of deal. What is it?
I don't know. I'm playing. I don't know. It's such an interesting thing because again, so at this point, I'm a rookie out. All right, I'm 21 years old. This is like my second year of doing real life drum corps. I'm a rookie Cavaliers, but again, I'm 21 years old, so I'm not a dickhead. I'm not like 15 years old, don't know shit about life, right? So even going into it, I wasn't not that I wasn't looking for like that bond and that brotherhood, right? But I didn't go into it like really expecting or really even wanting to like. Not that I didn't want to get close to the people I was marching with and shit like that. But I wasn't looking necessarily for that sense of home or that.
Because this was your last year, you know.
Yeah, not that I wasn't just like I'm trying to get a ring and get out. Like it really wasn't like that. But again, like I don't think that was something I was really yearning for as a marching member. I think I really wanted to just do drum corps at an incredibly high level with some cool fucking people, right? And again, at the first camp that I went to, I was super sold on the people. I mean, Hunter Dorman, Horn Sergeant that summer. Great dude and was super inviting. Even Jacob Armstrong too. He ended up being one of the drum majors. I think those guys were just super inviting. Even like by the first camp, they were like, oh, what's your name? Where are you from? You have any questions about the audition process? Shit like that. So at that point, I'm like, oh, this is cozy feeling. This is nice. Yeah. And even like I'm taking like fucking years to get a contract over there too. And like the guys are being super supportive as far as like me posting videos and everybody like really dropping comments of like, what can I make better and shit like that. So I think I didn't expect that atmosphere, or that being the atmosphere in the wintertime was super great. And as far as what fundamentally makes it special, so again, I had a bunch of friends that I knew that had marched at the drum corps, so I think that's what sold me on it. But I wasn't, as a drum corps fan, I wasn't like deep into the lore, like what the Cavaliers have been about.
Absolutely.
As far as like the history and even like the run they were on in the early 2000s. Like I wasn't super duper locked into that going into.
You just like the shows and you like the people that have marched the group.
Yeah, it was just a very regular, like, shows are fire. I love the shows. I'm like, that's kind of all it is for me on the forefront of it, right? So I think learning about it more in the drum corps while I'm marching was cool. And I think that definitely strengthens that bond. The fact that, like, the people marching now are, like, just a part of this long lineage of Cavaliers. I know Chris Lugo, I think was a corps director at the time, would always say, like, the most important Cavaliers are the ones marching right now, and you guys are part of that lineage of previous Cavaliers. And it was a 70th year anniversary too, so I think a lot of rah shit with the alumni and stuff happened at that point too. But I don't know. It's an interesting question, just because sometimes I always worry that like I wasn't always drinking the Cavalier Kool-Aid like everybody else, and not that I wasn't necessarily any less bought in. I was super fucking bought in. I remember being very frustrated about competitively how we were doing. During the season, and I felt like other dudes weren't. Which again, like at a certain point, if you're in 6th place, you're not going to jump up to first. It don't work like that no more, right? No. And some of those dudes just had a better sense of that than I did. So I just remember some dude just being like, "Oh, I mean, it is what it is," and I'm just like, "What the fuck?" I did not like spent all this money and like slave making all these fucking visual videos.
Like, we're
to
not going to
just-
make a run at it. And they're like, dude, do you
No.
neighborhoods? We're not in that neighborhood.
We're not. Yeah, we're not. Whole time it's that 2018 SCV show, and my dumb ass is like, man,
We're fucking better than that shit, dude. I mean,
that
honestly,
Hornline-
that was an incredible show, though. No doubt that in my mind was the top 3 show of that summer. Like, I've gotten to watch it so much more since then, but I loved that show then, and I've grown to love it even more now.
I mean, super like design wise, it's fucking fire.
That opener just like reels you in such a way where it's like this beautiful start to it, and it's almost like this beautiful eerie feeling. Mm-hmm. And then it just builds into like the most badass opening hit of all time, which you were a part of. And I kind of wanted to hit on that a little bit. I don't know if I'm like skipping, but something I wanted to hit on. You're in the trombone ensemble that summer. And like, it was the coolest thing for me. Like, I think the first show we were at with you guys, like I made it a point to go out and see Cavaliers. And it was like the coolest thing ever. Like, seeing on the Jumbotron when they're like showing the ensemble and I see you, I'm like, holy shit, like he's a fucking superstar out here, bro. How did this process work, and how did you get on that ensemble?
I mean, it's just an audition, you know, like once I was contracted, okay. I think they're like, oh, we're going to do trombone audition, just send these videos into Google Class or whatever. And I sent my videos. At this point, were you just like,
fuck it, like it's my age out year, like I'm going for the whole thing? Like there was no, because I know for me, like always come up, I was like, damn, I'm kind of a little nervous about auditions always.
I mean, at that point, it was still kind of new to have trombones and drum corps. So I'm just like, it's my age. I would love to play. And like in high school, you watch drum corps and it's like, there's no trombones. Why would there ever be trombones? And then they add them like in 2014 or 15 or something. And I'm like, you don't fuck with the trombones and drum corps? I think visually I get it.
I love them personally. I love them.
I think it depends on the show. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. Like, the trombone thing at the end of the 17 Cavaliers show is fucking hot. I thought that shit was
my God,
fucking
bro.
cool.
I don't know how many times I've watched that segment of the show over and over again and just like tap to rewind, watch again, tap to rewind, watch again.
Right. But I mean, it was just an audition, and then they were like, you'll be a part of the sextet. And I was like, that's fire. And then so I did it in the opener, and then I did it in the groove section in the middle of the show, and then got to do it at the end. The running joke from 2018 Cavaliers is that, again, I fucking was terrible at marching. They just wanted to keep me off the field as much as possible. Man, dude, it's funny that we talk about Oregon and how much they just worked us to the bone. Dude. And like, not to say we weren't working hard at Cavaliers, not to say that. And like, again, that team with Kevin and Mike and Drew and everybody at that team at the Brass was super down to fucking bust ass and work hard.
But you work smarter.
You work smarter, and I just think, and at that, especially that season before that new Brass team that came on, it was like Cavaliers. The joke was like Cavaliers Country Club, where we get like 10, 15-minute water breaks. And like staff isn't really gonna like. I mean, if
they're not worried about it. Like if people are coming back on the field, it's like get the fuck off. Like go take a break.
Literally, it was.
It's so weird because you think it's gonna be the opposite in top 8 land. You're like, no, we're gonna go so hard. This is the hardest thing, and they're like, no, we're gonna need you to take more breaks than you think because it's just like we need to protect you guys over the summer.
And also, it's like you don't have to work as hard when like your membership coming into the season. I was already playing at a decent level. A lot of your membership has, drum corps experience. It's visually stronger, physically, literally, just stronger to do the activity. So you don't necessarily have to bust their ass literally every single day of the season, right? So that coupled with the fact that I was a trombone solo, I'd have to march the opener. I did some of like the dancey dance bits in the opener, but then when they start marching at 192, I'm already on the sideline playing trombone. It's fucking great.
Gone.
The middle of the show again when they're marching at like 192. Playing trombone on the
You just got to look good and just fucking play.
Dude, I got to play trombone. I got the fucking action shots. This was like real dream rookout.
You were on the Jumbotron the next year for the picture. Something going into that summer. First off, you're talking about it's the 70th anniversary summer. Was there anything like special or unique that you guys got to do that summer for the anniversary season? Like, was there ever like an alumni kind of deal, like a little gala or a dinner or something?
I'm trying to remember. Maybe, probably. I don't remember.
Yeah. I get curious on anniversary years because I know some groups like Blue Knights, like I remember they did a whole thing for like Drums Along the Rockies where they had like the whole alumni corps come out and they did like the whole like core song together or some shit like that, or they do like a concert in the park or some shit.
Yeah, we did some shit like that for sure.
Right. Yeah.
I think definitely in Rose, probably around 4th of July. Actually, I remember we did like a big 70th like picnic thing in Rosemont. I think we did like a parade and a performance around then. Some other stuff throughout the season.
Yeah,
it was a good time. Alumni was as far as like being face to face with us. They were really pulling up a bunch of shit throughout the season, and there's some cool like Cavalier quotes all throughout the show. I mean, like Rainbow is in there all the time in the show, and Mars is in the show a lot too. If you're like a real Cavalier nerd, there's probably a bunch of shit in that show that you might like. The marching xylos, which I'm not sure how much it added. It's cool though. Hey, all right, so
it's cool.
That show, and I think most people will agree with me. The first half of that show, like the first 6 minutes, I would really put up against anything that summer. Like I put that up against especially like I think we came in 6th that summer. Anybody in the top 6, I put the first half of that show up against anybody. I like to give a fuck. Sure. I put up against anybody, right?
Yeah.
Now after that,
really? Because that's where like the whole controversy I remember happened that summer for like the back half of the show. People online were hating online on like Facebook, DCP, like all over the place for the whole like, oh, what a world. Like where like that last 2 minutes of the show, they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
why the fuck are they doing? Like it was a big. I don't remember specifically what people were like complaining about, but like people were not happy with y'all's
I do remember,
like show.
Yeah. I think some of the complaints were like, because the show is about, I think musically it's about like Ravel and I forget what condition he had, and how that's kind of played throughout, like how that was exemplified in Bolero, this repeating thing, and how he was drawn to that. And a lot of it's how like it's on Madison Creativity. So a lot of the show is on like the madness side of it all, and then the closer is just gay. It's like it goes from like madness and mental health X, Y, and Z, and then it's like no, we're gay, and it's like oh, is that the resolution? I didn't think too much of. I mean, they changed that opener like 3 or 4 times, maybe 5.
Wow.
I'm probably dragging it, probably 3 or 4 times. So you could tell there was some struggle as far as like how to really wrap a bow on the entire show, and you can see that even by like the finals recording. And yeah, I mean, like it just loses. I think it just loses steam. I think I love the ballad. It's incredibly well written, I think, but I think it's a little long and drawn out. And kind of real sparse for the front half of it, so it's kind of hard to feel grounded in it.
It feels like that last release kind of like comes out of nowhere there at the end where you guys like have that like ripple down the line of everyone getting back up from that little like plie position, and then it's like the chord changes and it ripples down. Like, well, that's cool, but it feels like it just comes out of nowhere.
A little bit, and then even after then, it's like between, which I think is like the hardest thing to do in drum corps is the part after your ballad. Because people can they can make fire clothes where you're running around the field and playing loud and playing the hella notes. People can do that fine, all right. But it's the between the after the ballad and before your closer. That part of the show, that's where it's honestly for a lot of shows that I watch now. So kind of what make or break the show for me as far as like committing 13 minutes to watch the show. A lot of them, those parts of the show would be the worst in so many shows. I'm not a design guy, and if you're watching this at home, I'm not a design guy. I am a baritone tech. Maximum.
It's just our opinions. It's our opinions. Listen, if someone's got something to say in the comments about what happens there, but I completely agree with that. It feels like a lot of the times, especially I guess from like our perspective, that's normally like more of a like a percussion feature type of deal, and they kind of just like make all these visions for the brass, and they're like, we need to fill 2.5 minutes, and then we're gonna get back into your story.
So like you have that ditty where it's like we're running around the field of percussion. We used to play or one version of it, and then they were like, it was like a timing nightmare. They're like, you know what, just don't play. It'll be a percussion thing, right? So then we do that. And it's like, that's fine, I guess. And then I think just doing the slow closer, I just don't think worked. But because we built up all this velocity during the percussion feature, I guess.
And then it slows down, and then all of a sudden it's just like this big hit. And then the trombone motif comes back in, and then it's just the end of the show.
Yeah, so it kind of, again, so like that first 6 minutes, solid. Again, I would put that up against anybody for the most part. But the back half kind of falls apart for me. So, I mean, I'll go back and watch that show, not super often, but like a couple times. And I'm always like, I'm like, yeah, man, fuck yeah, let's do it. Yeah. All right. close.
In 2018, did you get to do the Atlanta show in 2016? Like in the Dome before it got turned into Mercedes-Benz?
Yeah, so 2016. So 2016 is in the Dome. Last Dome show ever. All right. 2017 is at McEachern High School, I think.
Yeah.
I'm so mad,
like
dude.
Yeah.
That might have been why I didn't march Oregon again, because it was so fucked. Because one, the guard bus drove into a ditch, and we got to the housing site super
and you
late.
Were on guard bus, right?
I was on guard, but I slept on a park bench that night. Slept on a park bench. We did an entire rehearsal day. We were in bumfuck nowhere. I need to go. I was just talking to my roommate about it. I need to go find where we actually were at for that housing site. Because so far away from all my friends and family, no one can even pull up. I'm like, all right, this is annoying, but okay, whatever.
Sucks.
And I'm watching that all summer long. People, especially like in Texas, like people's families coming to the rehearsal and giving out Gatorade, this and that. I'm like, oh, hopefully my family can do that. They're unable to do that. It's cool. It's fine, right? We do the Atlanta show. It's not even in a dome at this high school, right? And then we leave early. You remember that? We left that show. Like we performed.
We left like right after the show. We went to the next place. Like I think we just had enough time to like put everything on the truck and we left.
Peaced out.
Oh my god, I remember that.
Yeah, man. I had a bunch of people not happy with me. I was devastated. I was like, "This is my home show, Atlanta. Let's go." Oh, we're not even gonna. Okay.
We're not even gonna really take time to enjoy a regional. It's kind of just another show in the books.
Right. So that was the Atlanta show, 2017.
Yeah.
And 18 was the first year in the Benz. Oh my gosh. This Atlanta, I used to say, keyword used to, that Atlanta was the best. I think it used to be the best show on tour. Easily the best regional, like way better than Allentown. I think it's like,
for sure.
It's at that point in the season where like drum corps are really cooking. It's like, oh yeah, like people like changes are kind of wrapping up for the most part, and like people have been on the road for long enough to really like have a good handle on their show. And and like the Dome was always a cool show to go to and to perform in. And then the Benz was just, I mean, the energy in there is just fucking fire. It had like the most turnout and most shows.
It's crazy.
Oh
dude.
yeah, I mean, in 18. Oh my gosh, I would even tell like my high schoolers when I was teaching, there is not a lot of other feelings. Not all other places you can get that feeling where you walk into like a place and there's literally like 40,000 people just fucking losing their minds if you do your fucking job correctly. So that was the Benz in 18 was a lot of fun. I mean, from a performance perspective, kind of difficult because it's not a great listening environment. I mean, just the energy of the room is just so fucking cool, and the fact that we don't do that show in the Benz anymore devastates me. The Atlanta Regional is not even the Atlanta Regional anymore. They split it up between Atlanta and Winston-Salem, which is the next day. So it kind of because apparently the Benz is really the Benz is super expensive. PCL just can't afford to have it in there.
What the fuck? I didn't even know that was the reason why. I thought they were just like, oh damn.
Yeah, so now they do it at the Georgia State Stadium, which is ass.
That's fucking ass, dude.
Yeah, they have ruined the Atlanta Regional. Now it's actually dead. And I'm like,
that's so sad.
Now we can turn off the drum corps machine. Now we can stop it. We don't have an Atlanta show. What are we doing?
We should probably just shut it down. Just go ahead and shut it down.
Shut it down. But no, man. Atlanta in 2016 and 18 were fire. We're fired. 17, not at all, but such an 18. I mean, just being in the Benz for the first time was just like, this is what it's about. This is what the fuck it's about. And then marching Cavaliers are going on towards the end of the night too. So like most everybody's in their seats for real and like really locked in on watching. I'm like, this is
prime time, and like your family actually gets to go to this show, and they're all there, so all your people get to come out. Yeah, it was cool. In 18, it was funny because like 18, the stadium had just kind of like opened up, so they're still trying to figure out like how cars are going to get into the stadium and everything, and the process. Like we had to leave warm up. It was a fucking nightmare in 18. They figured that shit out in 19 though, but in 18, it was a fucking disaster getting in there because they were still trying to figure out. I mean, parts of the stadium outside were like still under construction. I remember, so we had to take this super long walk in 18 around. We had like the guard dogs waiting, like like before we went out. That shit was crazy. It was fun though. But I love that show, and I didn't even know that they got rid of it. That's fucked up, man.
So they haven't gotten rid of it. There's still a show in Atlanta around that same weekend, but it's not all the drum corps because apparently they can't all fit at the Georgia State Stadium. So some of them go to, I forget, I saw something on Facebook where it's like, it kind of details out like how they decide who goes to Atlanta and who goes to Winston-Salem on Sunday. But yeah, it's not the true everybody under the same roof at the same time now. It's just like, it's pretty lame. So, but I get it. The drum corps broke and they can't afford to be in the Benz for one night. So
hope we can get back there one day. One day, who knows?
Yeah, we just need the flood. I mean, honestly, what's going to fix all of Jump Core's problems is to just flood the motherfucker with a lot of money. Just to flood it. You just have to have buku
We need
money.
sponsors. We need different sources of like revenue. For me, I feel like we need outside of the marching band brands. Like outside of the band brands, we need like every fucking kid when you go to a camp in the winter has a pair of Adidas striped pants. Every band kid loves them. Like, can we get in contact with Adidas or some shit? Can we get like, I know that's like a big pipe dream. It's very hard to get in like contact with those big companies. I understand that. I understand I'm just a 22-year-old kid saying shit on here, but I think that's going to be the best way to do it is to go outside of our little band bubble and kind of look outside of that to kind of, recoup.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
I had a question about Cavaliers, the little thing with your guys' Encore. I was always curious. I didn't really get to talk about this in the episode I did with Austin Berry, but why is it Africa and Rosanna for their Encore? Is there a specific reason why I got picked, or it was literally just like shit goes hard?
So the shit goes hard. All right, 2018 when we first pulled out Africa, I wasn't super turned up about white boys singing about Africa. That was the whole drum corps or like the whole horn line was for the most part. I'm here. I'll have fun with the gang. I'm not a party pooper. We can do it at school. It's whatever. All right, but I think the master plan was to like Kevin was to like write just a new Toto tune every year and just tack it on, and then by year 7 or 8 at Cavaliers, we just have like a Toto cover album by the Cavaliers. I think that was a running joke in Brassland or in the brass staff. Not that was ever seriously the thing. I just think
the Encore is going to be the album.
Yeah, and a little bit deeper than that was that 18. I remember we're like the arrangement that I forget if Kevin or Mike wrote it. Actually, I don't remember. I should know that. I forget who wrote it, but they wrote it pretty faithful to the original recording. So there's some licks in there, like the da 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 da. That's super high.
Like the little trumpet lick in Rosanna. Like that little like lead trumpet lick that like goes way up there. Like that's almost like that's like literally like right from the recording.
Yeah, it's dope. It's dope. So they wrote really faithful arrangements. And I remember at 18, he's talking about Africa. He's like, yeah, I'm into Encore tune and it's Africa. It's kind of funny, but like he remembers when he saw before he ever marched drum corps, he saw Crown play something Bugle Boy or something. I forget the name of it. But he was like, yeah, this incredibly unserious song, but Crown for their Encore still played the fuck out of it.
Yeah,
and he remembers that being like super like impactful and like impressive for the fact that even a drum corps is like a whole lot like Crown is going to take their show obviously fucking seriously, also take their Encore tune seriously. That's how you recruit as well. It's like you may not have sold a kid on the show, but you just sold them playing an Encore tune, fucking fire as hell. So I think that was
me with Blue Knights in 2018 for real. Like the show was whatever to me. I love the ballad, but like the show was whatever. But the fucking Encore. Like for me, like I saw them and like how much fun. If like you can take it seriously, play the shit out of your Encore and then also have fun and like interact with the audience like you guys do, like Blue Knights does, it just you get reeled in with that shit, you know?
Exactly that. So I think that was like the mentality. And like we're just going to have, I think he said it or somebody said it where it's like we're going to have just the best Encore ever. Or we're just gonna have like the most fun Encore ever.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just simply what it's going to be. So like, it kind of starts. It started in 2018 and then just took it up a whole fucking other notch in 2019, which is fine. Which I do think. I mean, this is a fucking dumb thing to say, but like, so, 2019 go just the best Encore on tour.
Really,
the best. Oh, for sure. Oh,
Austin said it all the time. I had to argue with Austin Berry all the time because he was like, "No, we had the best fucking Encore on tour," and I'm like, "No, you didn't."
Who had the best one?
We did.
What'd you guys play? I don't remember.
Can't take my eyes off you. We like.
Okay.
Oh.
Hey, look. Here's my big drum. Here's a drum corps thing that I think I failed at in my career, which is not really my fault, I guess. But the thing I always wanted was I want to fire YouTube videos. I want like whatever drum corps I'm in, I want my YouTube videos to be so fucking fire. Because that's what I would nerd like between seasons. I would just watch Crown live videos and
like the Hornline pages, like that was loud, whatever Hornline fanatic, like you always want to put on those pages.
Yes, bro. So like, now that I'm doing drum corps, like, I just want my Hornline video on YouTube to be fire. That's what I want. And I never really got that, which is fine. Again, I don't stay up at night thinking like, damn, I never got that YouTube video.
Imagine if I got that video.
But I do love it. I do love it for the 2019 guys. They definitely. I mean, that whole lot was cooking. So they definitely
Yeah.
got that video, and that I
Mhm.
mean, that Encore video is probably on YouTube. Hella views.
Yeah.
People fucking love it. I haven't seen the.
Yeah. The one you guys did
Is
in
it-
Buffalo. That's the one that's out there that I see the most was the one in Buffalo.
What's the BK one? I haven't seen it. So
Just like a video or just like an encore?
I don't know. I'm just saying if it's the best one from the season, I probably would have heard of it. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh, that's crazy.
I don't. Is there a link? Is there even?
I'll most definitely send you a link afterwards. I mean, there's links out here for sure. I mean, we got our That Was Loud video that summer. I mean, there's a lot of views on it. I'm just saying, like, you know, we were out there.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it was us and BD that summer. We're the only ones that got a Hornline Fanatic video. I'm just saying, like that. It was just us. So I mean, we had a full lot for the San Antonio region. Like we had.
For sure. Yeah.
Like a full circle of people.
Yeah. The sun was still out though, right? Said the sun was still out though. Learned a lot, right? Yeah. That's what's up. Hey, that's cool. And y'all came in like what place?
We came in 7th. We're 2 places behind you.
It's 2 though. I mean,
this is what it's about. This is what it's about right here. I love this. This is what I do with everybody. It's about talking shit, guys. I'm always talking shit. I love it. That's fucking awesome. I love it.
Yeah, man. I think just like real chill, casual talking shit. I think we just need more of that in drum corps. I need more of that on social media, which again is like it's all made up. It's a fucking scam for sure. I used to go and look at like comments under
scam for sure.
In 2018 and in 2019. I would just like go check like comments under videos on Instagram and shit and just see what they're saying. Yeah. I used to post the comments on my story on Instagram. Like if I was looking for the 2018 show. So it was like, yo, those trombones, I'd be like, correct statement. And then if someone was just like, I don't know about the trombone, I'll like post that comment on my story to be like, incorrect.
Dumbass.
I'm literally just being a dickhead. Actually, I share this video anytime it pops up on Instagram. But I think you were rehearsing in the Detroit Lions Stadium for the first show of the season in 2018.
That's true. Yeah.
Good buddy Garrett Sullivan. That was both on rookie year Cavaliers. And he's videoing me when we're like leaving the field. And he's like, hey, you got anything to say to the people? And I'm like, yeah, it's Cavaliers. We live. We really doing it. Everybody else being trash on some other trash field, but we really in the dome for it.
They gave us the dome today for a reason. It's fucking us. It's us.
Every time that like if he shares it again or it comes up in my memories, like, I will share it every time. So I just wish these social media pages would just say like Cavaliers had a bad fucking night. Because what if
we need flow marching? We were talking about this before. We need flow marching to be the Bleacher Report of DCI. We need like off run tonight for the Blue Knights, off night for the Colts tonight or some shit, like not looking good. Like the picture, just a really dramatic screenshot and then swipe over to like some ass clip. I need that. I need it. I was talking about this before. I need a mic'd up like two horn lines like cutting each other off in twos. I need like a mic'd up someone stealing somebody's core hype. I need this shit.
I like that. I think I don't know what year it was, but Blue Coast did like a read me Facebook comments, and like the members are reading me. I thought that was fucking
awesome.
Hilarious.
That's
was
amazing.
Like, great. It's just so funny. Yeah, I just wish it was cool to hate on more shows. As someone who's like March Drum Corps. Yeah, dude. I mean, I think a lot of these shows are awful. There's a lot of really bad fucking shows. I'm not gonna give my full list right now. If I'm ever fully out of the teaching game, like I don't teach any drum corps, marching band, private lesson, or anything like that.
You'll get a list.
I will not a list of shows, but a list of like show concepts that you cannot do anymore.
Okay.
Like, we just don't need. Oh yeah, a tribal show, we're not doing it anymore.
Oh.
No. Any show that is urban, no, we're not doing anymore. We're not doing. We don't need to do urban shows anymore.
No, we can scrap them.
The Little Fugue, we don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to do the Little Fugue.
Oh no! Oh my god!
Don't. And hey, love Mike Martin down. We did it in 22 at Cavaliers. I thought it was pretty cool how we used it, but we don't have to do it anymore. There's just so many concepts. We just don't. We can let
it's just been played like every other fucking year. Someone uses it and they're like,
honestly, like
do it in a fantastic way.
And I think designing a show is hard. I don't know a lot about it. Again, Brass Tech, not a designer in any means, but I do know what I like. I do know the shows that I like are mostly well designed, especially when I talk to people who know more about designing than me.
Mm-hmm.
We'll tell me like, yo, that's good or that's not good, or it's good for these reasons, it's not good for these reasons, and shit like that, and like some shows just be lame or just like real BOA real like,
Right.
yeah, this one I like my local weekend marching band
Hmm.
contest. But and I don't have like the fullest, the most extensive knowledge of as far as like judging in GE and things like that. But like just seeing some of the stuff that gets rewarded just blows my mind sometimes.
Because you just
You
want to see
know?
something a little bit more creative. It feels like, maybe sometimes they're playing it safe, or it just doesn't, like, it's not being
Yeah,
something
dude.
new, you know?
Yeah, I mean like that name a Boston show. I'll probably hate it. Yeah,
No,
like
name a Blue
20.
Coat show from like 17 to right now. They're all
Dang,
the
you like
same
none of those?
show over and again. No, honestly, no. Truth be told, I don't like any of
17. What
them.
was 17? That was a zigzagger
Jagged
one.
Line.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. What was
And
18?
then 18, I don't
Session.
remember the name. I don't remember the
Oh,
name.
Session 44 or something. That was okay.
Right. And
19
then
was the Blue
19
Coats.
was the Beatles thing,
Eh,
whatever. And then
I
they
mean,
kept doing Beatles every year after that. And it's like, can you find a new identity? Like, can you do something else?
man, I will say though, I like the 22 show for Blue Coats. Really like the 23 show for Blue Coats as well. And actually, this past season, this is the first time I've actually been on Lucas Oil to watch. Like, I think I watched like the top 8 cores, all from up
Yeah.
top.
Wow.
Like pretty decent seat. We talk. I mean, on the field, I've been a tech, and I've taught my high school band from the box too.
Right.
We talk a lot about like getting to the box and like making sure that everything that we're trying to do stylistically, volume wise, from a
Projecting.
vertical alignment perspective, like makes it all that is getting conveyed up to the box.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
what Blue Coats are doing during their bump section in 23 is just some of the most nut shit. And it sounds crazy musically, like down from the field too, right? And
Yeah.
I've heard them a couple times during the season from like different vantage points, but seeing them in Lucas Oil up top finals night.
It
Well, I
comes
mean, a lot of
across.
the. Oh my god! I mean, it's just some of the craziest shit I think I've heard. Like, it's purely, honestly, even from just like a vertical alignment perspective, I have that many different ideas going around simultaneously, and like the demand of being at all these different spots on the field. I mean, kudos. I
Yeah.
mean, again, a lot of those guys I've taught the brass step, at least I taught with the Cavaliers, but like kudos to those guys,
No
man.
doubt.
Just some stuff that I'm pinching the bridge of my nose. I'm like, no way you were able to do this. I'm so
It's hard.
exposed. I mean,
Yeah.
that feature starts with like just the trombones. There's nothing else
Yeah.
happening. Music
Exposed.
ensemble, nothing else happening. And to have that
Yeah.
one, just to have 16 to 18 dudes on trombone, just fucking
Yeah. All
lay
the
it the
same
fuck
sound.
down.
Just like one. Yeah. No. I mean,
Come
yeah.
on,
No, you're
man.
absolutely right.
It's just some masterful
You can't
stuff
deny
there
that. I mean, they
do.
did it at such a high level, and they had, honestly, I'm gonna come back around and say, like, I like parts of the show. I'll say that, and I love the uniforms. I love that they tried something different with those this year. I know a lot of people were like, "What the fuck is even going on?" They
Yeah,
were
I
on
mean,
like t-shirts and pajamas, but I'm like, they're trying something new. You can't
that,
hate on that shit.
I think that's one of my bigger beefs as far as like design and drum corps. That I will appreciate a drum corps design wise that is going for it and maybe misses the mark in a couple spots in their shows, and like
Yeah.
the corps that will design wise play it incredibly safe and not really push any bounds of anything and not really do anything, and honestly not even do things that are even that difficult.
Like,
And
you can
then
kind of tell when a show, like, I don't know about you, but like, I could kind of tell when a show's created for points. Like, you can tell a show's almost designed in a way where I'm like, yes, if they play this section right here, they're going to get a lot of points for like being clean or whatever, but it's not necessarily going to like pop off the field. I'm just going to I know that that's good, so I have to award it points. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. But I do think, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a competitive activity. So, like, all of these shows are, with at least at a minimum, being built with the intent of, yeah, and there's like
Yes. Yeah.
a technique feature. It's literally
Right.
there so that the judges can award you
Points.
for,
all that
or
shit.
not award you for the level of clarity and unification in your horn line that you can get out of playing
Right.
these technique features. So I don't want to dog on any drum corps or any design team that's designing the show to competitively do well. It's like BD are like the masters of like, yeah, we're going to design shows in such a consistent manner that we will pretty much win, if not every year, damn near every year.
Mhm.
So like, from a competitive perspective, it's like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, is design a show that's going to check all the boxes on every single part of the score sheet. But I think that
Right.
ends up that might grow stale to some people overall. I know it grows stale for me a little bit sometimes. This is what I love about BD. The space that BD takes up in drum corps. It's like when you're just a fan, you kind of hate them because they win all the time. And then if you march for 1 or 2 years,
You love them.
you love them, and then if you end up teaching, you might end up hating them again. It's a weird back and forth. It's a weird back and forth because I think before I got into drum corps in any real capacity, I was like, man, why do they win every year? Crown should have won. They should have won.
Right.
I do drum corps, and I watch now. I'm like, oh, they're just like the best
It makes
performing
sense.
drum corps damn near every year. But then
Yeah.
those members are just so. That's when you talk about 120, 160 or whatever. Like
Yeah.
people committed to the one goal of just performing the fuck out of the show. They're just
On the
best.
first time, every single time, and they just do it.
They're the masters.
And, like,
they're just the best at that, you know.
Like for me, talking to a couple members who have recently like marched with BD, obviously, like you've talked about earlier, like when you have a group that comes in that's already playing at an exceptional level and a group that's in shape and like moving in an exceptional level, there's not a lot that you don't have to put a lot of pressure on that. From hearing from these members, it just sounds like they do an amazing job of putting the confidence in their members that they can do it on the first time, every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And they put the confidence in them that like you think that they're being arrogant, but it's like their staff feeding them the confidence that like, no, you're like, you can do this like you are the best every single day because like you will do it the first time, every single time. And they just do that. And that confidence is instilled in them.
No, facts. I mean, like even like you talk about arrogance, I don't even think that's necessarily inherently a bad trait. I think when you step onto a field, you should be like, yeah, I'm that fucking guy. I'm that motherfucker because I got
people confuse confidence for arrogance. I think,
bro. I got it. Like,
dude,
I think the cool thing when somebody talk about a lot in 18 at Cavaliers is like you need to get to a point where like you are having the same show every night, and not that you don't get better every night, but you're able to put yourself in the exact same headspace so that you can have the most consistent run night to night, and then take what didn't like nothing went wrong and nothing like blew up. Cool. So now you can really take stock in like what you can make better show to show to show. So then it was cool to be able to get to that point in 18 as a marching member to be like, okay, I know when I step onto that field, I want to put every other drum corps in the fucking dirt. One thing Mike said. One thing, I mean,
I love it. No, I just honestly, I've never heard anyone else talk about drum corps this way. I thought I was just crazy for thinking like this because I came with the same mentality, like whether I was in 22nd place or 7th place, like I was trying to put whoever was in front of me like in the fucking dirt.
Yeah, a couple things that really stuck out to me in 18 was that Kevin would say a lot like, dude, there's like, if your number is B4, right? There's a B4 at every other drum corps. Are you going to outwork the other B4 at that drum corps? And I was like, oh, shit. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I want to punch that guy in the fucking face. Yeah, I want to do that, bro. And one of the things that really stuck with Mike, and I've said this to my high school kids, where it's like, you want to play in such a way where you have taught the audience and the judges something. Like, they are better musicians and better players simply for having
because
heard
of
you do what you do. Yeah. Like, that being the impetus is like, oh, okay, this is exactly what I want to strive to do anytime.
Right.
Anytime I step onto a field, and then in turn now, anytime I step into a classroom in a teaching sense, I need to be on my fucking P's and Q's. Like when I'm at Luella, I mean, that was a school where like when I walked into that band program, I mean, it had all but fallen apart. Guy before me hadn't done so hot, school had asked him to leave. Then the pandemic hits. So it's like it's all like really pieces and scraps of what a band program is. To call a band program would be a stretch at that point. And I'm just like, well, okay, let me put on like my drum corps hat on. I'm just like, yeah, I just have to be that fucking guy. But it's like I had at a minimum when I step onto a podium, when I step onto the field, when I step into any capacity like that as a performer or as an educator, I have to believe I'm that guy. Because if I don't, then why would anyone think that I am if I don't already believe it?
Why would they believe in you? Why would they want to work hard for you?
Exactly. There's many, many days where I'm whole face line to myself. It's like, yeah, I do not have my shit together as far as like improving tone on clarinet or any other like pedagogical things outside of like what I feel comfortable in. But God damn it, I have to believe I'm that guy. And if I'm really that guy, then I'm gonna figure it the fuck out. I'm gonna learn how to do that so that I can go teach the fuck out of it.
What was it like leading your own band compared to just being a tech, just being on staff or whatever?
It was cool. I'm super blessed. I got to experience that I got to be the guy. I think it's something that's super heavy on your shoulders, I think at the time. And I think as long as you kind of treat it with that level of reverence of like, oh, I get to be in front of like kids who are expecting me to act and be a certain way so that whether they end up being musicians or not long-term doesn't really matter at all. But as long as they can come in here and learn something about something and to get better and to feel that sense of progression. And like we talked about earlier, so that they can know how to commit to a process of this is what you do to become great. It's not really a bunch of bells and whistles. It's kind of just committing to a process, sticking to that process, to a fucking T all the way to the end. I mean, and we went to some podunk ass competitions. We were not BOA level or any shit like that at Luella. Like, I mean, we were beating bands that we probably shouldn't have, and we were in the ballpark with groups that we probably shouldn't have. And I feel like I was able to be enough of a professional to see, like, yeah, I mean, there were groups that beat us that probably shouldn't have. As far as marching band is concerned, specific feelings. And obviously, I'm my own band director for my own group. But yeah, I mean, it was such a wonderful experience. It's a blessing that I got to do that in that capacity. Again, a big part of my drum corps ideology, I think, is like, I want to bust my ass to be as good as possible, but I also want to have fun. And it is fun to be good. It is fun to be good. I think a lot of fucking people forget that. It's like a lot of people, like, they go into drum corps wanting to get a ring or just to, like,
just get the jacket to, like, get clout so they can say they did
fun, and it's just this and that. And, like, sometimes it feels like a curse in the harder moments, but most of the time it's a blessing, I feel like, to have, like, incredibly high expectations of yourself and the people around you, whether as an educator or as a performer. Well, I know, like, I want to be good. And I promise you, and I would tell my high schoolers, like, dude, I'd be like, guys, if we're good, I promise you'll have fun. When 2, 3, and 4 notes sounds really good, you're not going to be having a bad time. I promise.
No.
Like, when we are,
it might be hard along the way, but, like, we're gonna have a really good time doing this.
You're playing true dynamics consistently, day to day to day. You will be having fun, you know. Plus, it's fun to play loud, so just fucking listen to me. Anyways.
And, like, that sense of self too has to get so much better. Putting yourself in that situation so early on in, like, your teaching career in life, putting yourself, kind of throwing yourself into that head director, throwing yourself into the deep end. You kind of learn so much about yourself facing all of these decisions, really important decisions you have to make, because the fate of a program kind of lies in your hands. And you're like, holy shit, a lot of responsibility that comes with that.
No, fact. And I think you and me and a bunch of other band people are going to understand, like, how fucking crucial that is. But I think a lot of people around me at that time, like, maybe like some parents in the community that, like, they're seeing this, like, this baby face as band director come in, and then, like, admin and other teachers in the community that don't really understand what I was trying to do all the time, and, like, why. I think it also taught me to be, I think naturally I'm not a very confrontational person. I'm not really like, I'm not that I'm, like, virtually opposed to it, but I'm like, if I cannot argue with you, if I cannot really,
not looking for it.
I'm not really looking for it, right? But when I saw that, like, me not doing that would cost my students something, because, like, all right, now I really got to pull up on you, because why are you not putting my kids in the right fucking classes? I'm not asking you first to give us money for the band program just out of nowhere. Why are you not even allowing me the opportunity to make money for my band program? So I think that's another thing, being a head band director at the time, it was like, no, like, sometimes you really got to stand your ground on the shit that you know to be true and shit that you know will be good for your program and for your kids.
Yep.
So, like, you really got to stand on that shit and let people know, like, hey, like, we can't do that over here, or what you're offering isn't good enough.
Yeah, especially for a program that's, like, going downhill as you come in.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not doing too hot, so it's like you kind of have to save this shit. That's a lot of responsibility right away.
Building a program is, like, in a lot of cases, like, a lifelong endeavor, whether in drum corps and bands or any structure where, like, people have to come into it and accomplish X, Y, and Z, and then maybe even leave it or grow within that structure. It's like you have to put in so much time and thought into building that culture and building that environment out. And I was super committed to not only doing that, but to trying to do that in record time. I think that's part of the reason why, like, it burned me out so bad was because, like, building a program takes time. I know that, everybody knows that, right? But I have kids in front of me now. I can't tell this kid now, like, yo, this program will be fire in 10 years. This program will be fire. And dude, 5 years down the line, we're really going to
I don't give a fuck. I want to be good right now.
No, like, I want to be good. That's my mentality. That was my mentality competitively in drum corps. Like, I want to be good now. Like, all this shit about Oregon, like, oh, yeah, Tim sticks around and just, like, to keep the staff and everything. Like, oh, like, we'll make finals in a few years. That don't help me. Yeah. I want to make finals right now. So let's just
I don't have 3 years to wait. Like, I gotta go.
Want to. I want to do this shit now. And that was my mentality at Luella. Is like, I want to have a band program now. I want to have a marching band that goes and wins real trophies and competition and has a jazz band that performs regularly and to do what gets superior ratings at festival and have kids make district and all-state. Like, I want all the things that a functioning band program should have. I want that shit yesterday, because my kids that I have in front of me needed that shit yesterday when I wasn't here and they were with this other band director. And they needed this shit when the pandemic was happening too, right? So we've already lost a bunch of time. We've already wasted the time of the kids in front of us right now. All right. And people and, like, other, like, administrators and teachers, and not really parents, maybe a couple, I don't know, but like major stakeholders who had real power in how like the quality of band program, they didn't always share that sentiment. I need this shit now. Like we need to be getting this and doing this now.
You don't want them to have like a shitty experience where like later down the line they're looking back on their experience and they're like, oh man, that was fucked up. But now all of a sudden, like, why wasn't it that way when I was there? I didn't get to have that kind of experience. Like you don't want to have a kid go like, you just don't want that to happen.
There's always going to be a little bit of that. You can't avoid that because obviously you always want to get better and better. If you're getting better and better every year, right? Then
that's
like,
what'll happen.
We'll come back and be like, oh, well, you weren't doing that. We're like, yeah, we wasn't able to do that. I want them to be able to look fondly at their experience in high school band and be like, oh, like that was a worthwhile use of my time. I feel like I'm a different person, a better person for having been a part of that, So I think that was a lot of like my mentality going into every day at Luella.
That's amazing though. I mean, and the experience that you get to have out of that, like I said, like you learn so much about yourself through experiences like that, whether it works out for the best or the worst or whatever, and you got to leave. There's just so much that you can learn about yourself by doing shit like that, which I'm sure you did, where it was just like, damn, like I am being put in positions so early on in my career. I gotta go. There's nothing put in place for me here. It's gonna be really fucking hard.
Exactly. You have to build out a lot of those structures and come up with those ideas and do that shit for the
and
first
there's no
time.
one like being like, here's the guidelines, here's the blueprint, here's how you're gonna kind of go about this, here's how you should. It's kind of just like, well, no, it's your program and you're gonna figure this out. I'm gonna go a little backwards here in the career. I have to ask this question before we move on because I want to talk about the Spirit of Atlanta 2023 season. A lot of special stuff happening there, but something that I have to ask about. I asked around to my Cavalier friends. I had a couple friends who marched 2018, 2019. Oh, no. There was a story that they all were like, you got to ask him. And I said, for real? What is it? And I asked everybody, I'm like, give me something. Everyone said, oh, I got you. And I waited and I would get the same story. And I said, all right, I got to talk about this. So I've heard from David Tabakian and Austin Berry. I need to talk to you about the 2-liter story from Allentown.
Oh, brother. Oh, brother. First of all, fuck both of those guys. Fuck any Cavalier that even commits the 2-liter story. It's gotten so bad. I had Davis Henry. Marching him at Cavaliers, okay?
Uh-huh.
He was judging drum majors at a competition my high school band was at, Luella was at.
Uh-huh.
All right. On the tape, he goes, ask Mr. Ezeh about the 2-liter. I said, no, why would you do that, big bro? And everything about the 2-liter, everything I'm about to say is not corroborated by any real facts. No, there's no footage of this. All right. There's no real proof that any of this happened.
I heard the picture's still out there. That's what I've heard. I've heard from Austin the picture's still out there.
Have you seen it?
I haven't.
Did he show it to you?
He didn't send it. He said, I can send you. I got a picture of him with the mop cleaning it up. But go ahead and tell the story.
It's probably Photoshop. So supposedly, somebody, I don't know who, but supposedly we're in Allentown.
Supposedly.
Post show, what some people say, I don't know, post show. At that one gas, I think it's that one gas station that's like you go all the way up the hill.
Yeah. Yes.
That one gas station that was open.
Yep.
It's like fucking flooded with drum corps people. We're all like really quite close together in line, supposedly, right? And someone said I picked up a 2-liter and offered it to somebody. It was like holding it and some shit like that. And then put it back down somehow, some way.
Supposedly.
I don't know. Maybe someone opened the door. Draft came in, just lightly brushed across that 2-liter and just fucking explodes. Just fucking explode. And again, it's like it's a tight and it goes.
That must have been a really strong draft, bro. That's wild.
Dude, and it's like I don't know if someone shook it up.
That's crazy.
I was like, yo, did you shake it up? I was like, no, I didn't shake it up. I picked it up and put it back down. Supposedly. Yeah, I just went hit people and it fucking goes everywhere. And like, I think the lady at the counter was like supposedly mad and somebody had to mop it up. Don't know who.
That's crazy.
No pictures, no footage. I don't even know.
I can't believe they keep asking about you though. I can't believe they'd be like, keep asking about the story. Like why specifically? They all want to know. Like you were there. They supposedly. They're saying that we have to ask you specifically. It's kind of crazy how we.
If you're one of these Cavaliers, you would ask me that story. I would have told you, "Fuck you, I'm not answering it." But I only gave you like the pieces that were told to me, only because I like you. So you should be grateful, all right. And again, fuck every other Cavalier that keeps asking me about. That could have been anybody. That literally could have been anybody. I'm not even sure if I was in the gas station at that time when it happened. I don't even know.
We don't have proof. We'll never know. We'll never know.
We will never know. And I've never been cut. Never been cut. We'll never get that footage. I might have the most prolific drum corps career of all time. I can't even say that with a straight face.
Put him in the top 5 members all the time.
Yeah, top 5. I'm up there
on the Mount Rushmore.
Not Rushmore. Drum corps.
So hopping into like this, post-COVID era of drum corps, I'm curious. Did you go out on the road in 22 and 23 at all on staff?
22, no. I was still high school band directing. I did 2 weeks, I think, of pre-tour, and I think that's all the time I was even able to do. And then 23, so I just quit Luella. I did 2 weeks of pre-tour, and then I did 2 weeks of I did from Atlanta to the end.
Okay. I've been curious because I got to go to the Murfreesboro show and kind of see some of this for myself. What challenges maybe DCI or maybe you guys Spirit kind of faced on the road, like throughout like a post-COVID tour? Because I know going to the Murfreesboro show, they were not prepared at all for how many people were going to come out. They had no the event staff that they had hired for the whole thing. They ran out of water before the first show. The whole it was insane. The lines were all over the place. It was crazy like that. But that's kind of a event staff venue kind of deal. I'm wondering for you guys, especially Spirit coming off a suspension year and then coming back for that 23 year, was there, if any, challenges that you guys face maybe as a core or just getting on the road or anything like that?
I think overall, I don't know if it's COVID specific, but I think it's more of just coming after a season of not existing at all. We just had a green, very, very green drum corps. As far as knowing how drum corps works and knowing how to tour and just teaching the lifestyle of what drum corps is. I think a lot of that had to be very intentionally taught, which I think as the teaching staff did a good job of that. I think admin also did a good job of that too, as far as teaching these kids how do you get down a road for 3 months and how do you transition from pre-tour up to the season and stuff like that. I don't think we had any big COVID scares, maybe a couple kids and had to quarantine for a few days and shit like that. I don't think there was anything big that blew up as far as COVID.
Cool, because I know still in the past couple of years, cores even, after the big COVID outbreak kind of getting back to that normalcy and stuff, cores are still even this past summer, when I went to see the Murfreesboro show, Bluecoats had to do a standstill because they had half the fucking group out with COVID, you know, and I think in 22, I think even Cavaliers had the 2 weeks of the big COVID outbreak.
That was insane. It was so crazy because we just finished doing the first Detroit show, right? And that was my last day on tour. That was my last day of me teaching too. We do the show and everything's fine and dandy. And the show was a show and the competitive result, everybody knows how that shook out, right? But there was no inklings of that in the time that I was there, right? I think I came in maybe midway through pre-tour or something like that. Everything is trending like business as usual. We got a show, we got to teach it, we got to clean the technique, all this shit, right? And everybody's healthy, everybody's fine. I think I had heard of one dude or one person having COVID. And I was like, oh, it's a one-off quarantine. Or at least we're not even on the road yet, so we can actually quarantine him in a separate dorm.
Right.
Somewhere else. So we should.
We're good. We'll make it.
Should be fine. And then I get on my flight home to go worry about my high school. And then I start checking the Facebook pages and text threads and shit. Half the drum corps passed away. I'm like, God damn, when did this happen?
Passed away.
I was it was all. I'm it was all.
We were good. We were fine.
What happened? So it was seeing the Cavaliers right after the Detroit show, and then I didn't see them again till Atlanta, and I just came for rehearsal, say what's up to everybody. Very different place, and they were recovering from being sick and shit, but you can tell they had just lost so much time as far as rehearsal time to really get the show where it needed to be too. So it was super heartbreaking to kind of see the guys be kind of down about them when I caught them in Atlanta and stuff like that. So COVID definitely hit them pretty hard at Cavaliers. But at Spirit, it wasn't an issue of COVID. It was just an issue of
new members. You had basically a brand new drum corps, and correct me if I'm wrong, but over 130 rookies.
Yeah, something like that. I think that was the number.
A crazy, basically the whole drum corps. Is it a lot like 17 where you're still competing, but is it more about drum corps 101, trying to teach them how to do drum corps at a world class level, or is it we're going to do it like every other drum corps season.
Yeah, it was certainly a bunch of that. I think we took that into account when, like, if things weren't progressing in a way that we needed them to at any certain point in the season. I think a lot more of it, again, I'm teaching with guys that I've been teaching with the Cavaliers, and just the way that me and my guys are set up, it's just like we want to be good. We want to be good fucking now. Like, the goal is never like, as long as we make it to the end of the season, we did it. You know, we want to make finals. You know, like,
Right.
it was the show design wise the vehicle to do that. I don't know. I'm really not the guy to ask that personally.
That opener was pretty fucking sick.
Yeah, opener was
It was
tight.
Cool. Yeah,
opener was tight, and it's like, I mean, that's a drum corps that's a whole night that made finals. The brass number made finals.
Really?
We did exact. Yeah, like,
holy
even
shit.
so, like, we do our semis run, all right, and then even after all the corps perform Saturday night, I mean, you look at the numbers. Our number from semis is still in the top 12. I mean, numbers are numbers. All that rah-rah shit aside, but it's just like, we set out to be a good horn line, which is like, that's the plan every season, is just to be a good horn line, a great horn line, one of the best. We want to be one of the best ones on tour. We just, like, just the way that we teach and the way, and our philosophy and our approach to the kid is like, we want you and need you to be good now, and we're going to strive for that. We don't really care. It's like, yeah, oh, you took a season off. Yeah, we have 130 rookies. Yeah, we have a bunch of woodwind players. Okay, all that aside, can we make finals? Let's go. Let's go out and really try to make some shit happen. Make a good sounding horn line, and that just speaks to the caliber of teachers that we had on that team. We just really had some
pushing them, not so much being like settling back and be like, no, we're going to be realistic this year. Like, we're trying to build a future. It's like, no, we're going to go for it as long as we can.
No fact. I mean, I would shout out. I'm not going to do any shout outs just because I don't want to leave anybody out. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. But, like, every single dude on that brass staff, every single dude in that visual team, just a dog, just a person who's really committed to just teaching the fuck out of some kids.
You have all of these reasons why you could lay down and be like, oh no, like, we're coming back. Like, give us some, like, cut us some slack, give us a break. Like, we have all these things, like, going against us. And so we could just lay down and be like, all right, well, we can get a participation trophy or some shit, or you could get the most out of your experience and go after it. That's why I say the opener is dope, because you could tell. I remember the first time I saw it was before, like, I think I had seen a clip of the preview show, and I was like, dude, they're working their ass off and they're fighting and they're trying to make a statement that it's like, yeah, we're not just like coming back. We're like kicking ass. Man, we're coming back. It was fun. It was very fun to see. Talking about your brass staff, someone I want to talk about, very obvious, a founder of Spirit of Atlanta. What was it like working with Freddie Martin?
It's always wonderful. I mean, he was at Cavaliers when I was marching. I was there a lot when I was teaching there too. Teaching at Spirit was such a cool thing because, I mean, it's a drum corps from, like, my home state as well. Like, I never marched there, but I was always, like, a supporter of the drum corps. You always want to see, like, the home team do well. And I think being in this, like, I think having taught alongside Freddy for a few years, and I think I never felt more comfortable with myself as an educator than at Spirit of Atlanta, teaching on that staff and teaching with Freddy. And Freddy's really asking me, like, yo, like, no, like, what do you think? If I ever, like, came off, if I took, like, a week off and I came back and I'm, like, listening, I'm not saying a lot. He's like, why are you not saying a lot? Like, what do you have for us? Like, what can you do? Like, what should we be doing? Like, for Freddy to ask me my opinion on shit is like, I'm
him. Like, that's all the confidence. I'm him.
I really might be that guy. I really might be him. So, it is, like, just the biggest compliment for Freddy asking my opinion on the horn line at his drum corps that he started. It's like, just will never not be cool. Yeah, just an absolute blessing to work with a lot of those guys. Obviously, especially Freddy. He's that guy for sure.
Something I'm curious about, because I remember you were talking about, like, when you were a brass intern, like, the moment you could sign up for, like, time available in the summer, you're like, fucking all of it. Like, I'll be there. I don't even care.
Right.
And then we talked about, you were like, by week 3, I was like, bro, I want to go home. Like, I gotta get out of here. I was curious for you, like, over the course of a summer, when you get to go on tour and you're with these people 24 hours a day and you're listening to them, you know, rehearse for the whole day in, day out. How do you stay fresh on your feedback? Because for me, I've literally watched my own techs after a rep and they've been on tour or with us for a while. Maybe, like, you know, like Sarah Myers, for example, is like she grinds. Like, for 12 years in a row, she would do, like, almost the entire tour, like, every single season. And when she was on staff, she'd, like, hop off in Atlanta and that would be it. But she would do the whole season. I remember, like, at a point in 17, like, we did a rep and she's just like, my ears are so, like, they're so used to everything. I don't even have anything right now. I can't I can't come up, like they're so shot. I can't come up with anything. Like I got nothing. I've heard so much of the same shit. I can't even come up with anything new. So for you, how do you as a staff member like stay fresh on your feedback?
I guess it's like there's always something to fix.
Yeah,
I think
it's a good
definitely
mentality.
spirit, things will get better, but I don't know. I think it might be I'm a product of the teacher, especially I had at Cavaliers, and I taught with the Cavaliers in that spirit. We try to not say good, we try to say better because it's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily good. We just had a ridiculous high standard for what we wanted out of the students, you know. So like, I mean, there might be some reps that are like, all right, like before I say anything out loud, like, yo, that's pretty good. But everybody's out here cleaning the same multiple tangy feature, the same ballad, the same all this shit. It's like different shows,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like all the same shit, and it comes down to tenths of a point. Less than that, you know? So it's like you just gotta be so incredibly fucking nitpicky. And yet time off
Right.
definitely like a break from hearing it all. You start to hear new things once you get back in. That's super duper helpful. But I think at Cavaliers in 2019, again, I'm pretty young as an educator. I'm still in college at the time too. Working with just such a diverse group as far as like background and experience of drum corps vets and people who've been teaching drum corps for quite a long time. They also knew way better than I do and did at the time as far as like what you can really draw out of your students rep to rep to rep. So like, yeah, years might get a little bit cloudy after like quite a bit of time on the road, but one, as long as the staff is rotating in a way that makes sense so that there's always like a fresh set of ears and people will know what the fuck they're talking about. But there's just a level of educator that is able to like, there's always something to fix.
Kind of winding down here just in the interview. This has been like an incredible conversation. Like I've gotten to learn so much from you with just you talking through this whole interview. Like, I've been able to sit back and learn so much myself. I'm like sitting here halfway through and you are just spitting. I'm like, am I a fucking idiot? Like I'm listening to you and I'm like, damn,
no, bro, you're
fucking
good,
dumb. Like I've been out of the activity for a while and I'm like, but I'm curious
bro.
from you in your teaching career, what was the most valuable piece of information that you took away from your teaching career?
The most valuable? That's tough. I think the thing that Mike said, you performing the show is a masterclass for everybody involved. Like that was a cool thing to hear and to be like, oh, like that should be my approach to like anytime I'm performing or anytime I step in front of people as an educator or people are hearing my groups, they're like, no, like they should learn a thing or two about what it is that we're doing over here. And that's a cool nugget. It's hard to say it, but I know there's been so many things that have stuck with me for sure. Again, especially in drum corps, dude, I think the best teachers I've ever had were in drum corps, like outside of like high school band and in college and maybe some other things. Like the best, most masterful teachers I've just had have been in drum corps and have been the ones that have just taught me just to commit to the process, commit to consistency, have fun while being good. I think we talked a little bit about that in 2018, maybe in Cavaliers. Suck less for sure. Dylan Watkins, big homie. Suck less. That's like
don't suck. Be good. It's fun to be good.
That's real top of the mountain shit. Is just to suck less.
Suck. We gotta clip that. It's real top of the mountain shit. Suck less. I love it.
Hey, I mean, there have been times, bro, with Luella, where like go play a rep or something, and I'll be like, I'll really be thinking, I'm like, man, like there's a bunch of things wrong with what I just heard, but I don't know what to really focus on. Then I'm like, wait, you guys play it better? Let's try it. And then they play it. It's like, oh,
it's just up here.
It's a decision. It's a decision. You made a decision to not really lock in like you knew that you needed to.
I have a question. You've been around the activity now for quite a long time, and you were here, pre-COVID, post-COVID era being on the staff side. I'm curious to know from you, what do you think about the state of drum corps right now?
Overall, like I said earlier, short answer, that's all right.
It's cool.
It's all right, I think if we're talking about where it's headed, I think we're kind of at a crossroads right now where are we going to keep going along the path that we're going, maybe as far as like the business structure of things and how do these drum corps function and how does DCI as a whole function? I think we're definitely heading towards a crossroads where something has to give, whether like you lower the fees, the shows get shorter and the tour gets shorter and all these things, or if you want to keep it at this like model that it is and like some other sources of whatever that may be. Again, I'm really not a business savvy guy, so I don't really have the answers. I'm not going to pretend like I do. But like something I think structurally does have to change probably within drum corps if you want to see it go on for another 40-something years, 50-something years. So I think that's big picture. As far as like things I'd want to see, I mean, we talk a lot about like diversity in staffs and diversity in design team and diversity even in
Absolutely.
like drum corps membership. I think barrier to entry due to the cost is a big one. I think when people talk about the cost, I think people say it in such a in a malicious way, like, oh, these drum corps are raising the prices and now people can't do it. It's like, no, like just the cost of living has gone up, the cost to do things, the cost of gas and food to feed 250 people
Yes.
every day for 75, 80 days is like an obscenely difficult thing to do. And the cost has only gotten worse post-pandemic. So I do think that's a legitimate concern. I don't think it's as malicious as some people may make it out to seem. But it is a barrier to entry, especially to not these rich white kids that come out of all these big, massive BOA schools, you know? I think that's definitely a barrier to entry is the cost. Again, people smarter than me and with real background in finance and the business should be the ones having these conversations.
I think that's kind of where we're going now with the activity. I think they're starting to recognize and I think it's come from the top down with our new with the new DCI CEO, Nathan Boudreau, having a person who can solely come in and worry about our biggest issue, I think right now, which is like the accessibility, like the financials to get into it, that from the top down. Like, I think that's inspired groups like for the Cavaliers, for example, like bringing on Robert Baker Hargrove Jr. as your new CEO, someone who was just in like the Fortune magazine as like someone who's like a really successful business person. Like people who are in the band world are going to be like, what the hell? Like, he doesn't know anything about band. But like, if you have that organization so that you, the band person who's just like smart in this band world, you can let the financials be the financials and you can let the band people be band people.
Bro. It's like, whether at like specific drum corps or at DCI as a whole, let's just stop hiring people who used to do drum corps. I'm sorry. That's probably largely why a lot of people, a lot of places and corps are in the spots that they're in. You keep hiring people that know drum corps very, very well, but not how to run businesses and nonprofits and shit. Stop doing it. Stop.
I think we're moving in that direction. I
cannot emphasize anymore. Hire people with real finance and business degrees and experience.
Yes.
And shit like
who can
that.
handle your money in a smart way where you're not going to fucking fold or you don't have to take off every other summer or whatever, you know?
Yeah, so I think that's a big part of it. As far as like the cost, I think that's barrier to entry. I think something that I really resonate with, and I think that's probably like one of the most glaring things about the lack of diversity in drum corps, is that these shows are not made. These shows are made for rich white kids who go to BOA schools to find cool, or they're written for judges who've been in this activity for decades, and they're written for, you know what I'm saying? It's not like, so I'm at Luella, right? This is a predominantly black school. All right.
Yeah.
In Henry County, where the school is based in, a lot of the schools are predominantly black. A lot of the schools are traditional style marching bands as well. Right.
Right.
So I would even show, like, my gauge for, honestly, if a drum corps show was cool or not is if my kids who are like, again, predominantly black population.
They love it.
Because I just think if they think it's fine, then it's probably a good show. All right. Yep. You know. Right. That's just the fact of the matter is, like, a lot of these shows, especially like the trouble one, stop it. If there's urban, I'm looking at the camera right now. If you design a show, and I don't know how many people listen to this podcast, all right? Urban anything. First of all, you can hit me on Facebook if you want to check in if you're not sure. But if it's urban this, urban that, turn it off. Turn it off. No, because at an absolute minimum, it's corny. And at an absolute minimum, it's corny. At an absolute maximum, it is offensive for you to just like have a caricature of these different sort of, you want to do a black show or have these black ideas and things. You're whitewashing it all the way to hell too, you know? So I wish that there were shows with music and with concepts and ideas that can resonate with not just black people, with people, all walks of life, you know what I'm saying? And in ways that are faithful to where they're coming from, in ways that are sensitive from the places that they're coming from as well. Yeah, I think that would be cool, because it's like, people will ask, I think I've had a couple of close friends, like, would you recommend that black people march drum corps? Which again, that's a whole other different fucking episode of a drum corps podcast, right? Yeah. It's like, people asking, I'm like, I will tell them to march at the drum corps that I'm teaching at, because then I can actually, at a minimum, ensure that the experience that you have is somewhat positive.
Right.
I want at least any black kid that marches drum corps, I want them to have an experience that was better than mine. And not that mine was woefully bad as a black man, but we can talk about recruitment and all this stuff and all these initiatives to make things diverse in drum corps. And like the staffs will only get diverse when the drum corps themselves actually get diverse. And these will
True.
only come diverse when, like, I think that barrier to cost is kind of removed in a
That's
certain
financial.
way.
Yep.
I think that's a part of it as well. But I honestly think a large part of it is like when these shows actually start to look and be appealing to people that are
Everybody.
not just the common denominator white kid from the
Right.
suburbs.
Yep.
I think when that starts to happen, I think we might actually see a shift. And I think to actually market and push that to people that
You could
aren't
bring
at-
in more people who would be like, damn, what are they doing? This is cool. This is different. It's not so traditional. It's not so based in tradition.
Mhm. I think when that happens, then I think other people from other walks of life will feel like, oh, all right, that's fine.
I'll check it out.
Maybe I could do that.
Yeah.
I think when I was able to do it, Llewellyn, foster an environment where everyone's able to appreciate all types of marching band, whether it was traditional or core style or whatever. Like I've had kids go on, I had a kid who march at Atlanta TV, and I have kids who march at NCAT. I have kids who march at Bama too, or march at Grambling. And it's so I that's something I'm really, really proud of. I was able to do. I play whoever, as long if it's cool, and I actually think it's legit cool, and they think it's legit cool. I'm playing it in the bander. Sometimes it's a drum corps video, sometimes it's a video of an HBCU or some other college marching band or an indoor group,
Right.
or even it's like a woodwind or something. One day my woodwinds were like, "You never played woodwind content." Da, 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 da. So I'll pull up like section videos from like woodwind those I would say like woodwind sectional videos from BOA schools. That's those kids that play some nut ass shit, man.
Oh my
Some
God.
cold woodwind sections at these BOA schools, man, just throwing down.
The BOA schools are getting crazy with the content that they're putting in their shows now. I mean, I'm not like keeping up with it by any means, but like if I ever see a clip and I come past it and I'm watching it, like the level of difficulty with these fucking high school shows are nuts, dude. It's fucking crazy. Like I wasn't even close to competitive like that when I was in my high school. Like there was no fucking way. We had like 90 people and that's it. Like, like there was no way.
Yeah, I just wish that there were shows that would make there are shows that make me excited, but that's because I'm a drum corps fan. I wish I wish I could see shows that made me excited because me being African American, you know what I'm saying? So I'm only speaking about my singular experience, right? As a black man who does teach and enjoy drum corps. I wish I would see more of that stuff that excited me because of that. I remember at 19 actually. Which a little bit to the dismay of the staff. Again, I apologize, guys. But a big issue was like the black guys can't get haircuts on tour. A trash can cut with scissors is not going to cut it. It's just not how our hair is set up. When I was interning at 19, I found a friend of a friend to come before the Atlanta show to come cut all the black members' hair. And they were like, dude, thank you so much for making that.
That's so cool.
You don't know how much that means.
Crucial.
Oh, yeah, dude. Funny story. Core director at the time at Cavaliers in 2018 comes up to me some random day on tour. He's like, hey, we got someone that can cut your hair. I'm like, all right. Man, I appreciate that, bro. Thank you for looking out. Go in. It's a white lady. All right. With some scissors. She has some clippers. Let me not tell the story wrong. She has some clippers too. I'm like, okay. I'm the first one in the chair too. All the other black members are behind me. Sit down. She's fucking my shit up. Bad. So much so that mid-cut, the dudes are seeing it and then they just like one by one just walk out.
No way!
I said, oh, okay.
No, they're like, we would rather look shitty.
I mean, I look. Hey, if I had to be the guy to go down so they didn't have to, then that's fine too. I just remember we just had like a round table with a bunch of. After that,
took the lead for them.
They're like looking at my head. We're like looking around the room, and they're like, "We gotta do something about this shit, man." It was funny, and the cut looked really bad. And I mean, I just slugged it out for the rest of the season. It was whatever. Yeah, man. And again, I'm only speaking to my experience and like to the community that I most identify with. I'm sure there's a bunch of other spaces and people that feel like they haven't quite felt that well received in the drum corps space as well. When I feel like that starts to happen in more intentional, specific ways, as far as like your tour experience and certainly in show design too. I think show design will get people of all walks of life in the door into drum corps, right? And I think it'll take each individual drum corps very specific work to make sure that that every single like the needs of those, just culturally and otherwise, the needs of those members will be met. I think that's when we'll start to see. Then, like years down the road, when these are the people that are teaching and designing, we'll see that diversity reflected in those spaces. But I think it starts at really trying to get members in. You're not going to find your next Black caption head if you're not actively recruiting for Black students.
Members.
And really, again, I think that recruitment is going to start at your show design.
Like the only one I knew for a long time was Alex Blue V, who taught me in 2016 as my like brass caption head, and now he's a baritone tech at BD.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the longest time, you know.
I don't know him personally. I know the caption head at Mandarins is Black. I forget his name. I should know his name. I'm so sorry. I know he's captioning it up at Mandarins. Outside of that, on the other caption heads, and he's sitting there saying that we should. I'm not angry because this is just how the system is. This is just how it's been set up. I would love to see it be different. I would love for diversity, especially for Black people, to be reflected in drum corps. I think drum corps is so cool, and I think Black people can think it's cool too. I think people from all walks of life can think that it's cool, but I think if we're still doing fugue, if we're still doing little fugue, if we're still doing How to Train Your Dragon,
same old shit, whatever.
Remember that wave, like every drum corps playing How to Train Your Dragon, or every drum corps doing Snarky Puppy. Let It Go.
Oh my God! When every drum corps found Snarky Puppy, dude, Jesus Christ.
Let it go.
No, I absolutely agree. Especially if we're gonna come away from every summer, and if we're gonna talk about like what does drum corps mean to you. Like everyone's always like, well, you never know who you get to meet. You get to meet people from all walks of life everywhere. And it's like, for real?
Hey, if you say so. Hey, and if your whole life has been in the suburbs, I'm from the suburbs.
Right.
I'm not just talking the suburbs, but like if your whole life is from the suburbs and you went to, I don't know, Tarpon Springs or
your perspective is going to be a little different.
And like, then you met like your first Latino dude for the first time watching drum corps. It's like all walks of life. It's like, all right, you just actually Tarpon Springs is in Florida. They probably have a significant Latino population, so I don't want to. Again, it's first high school that came to mind. All right, please, y'all don't come for me,
dude. I fucking love it, man. I just get to sit back, and you're absolutely right. I love this. I absolutely love it. I'm gonna round out the interview with a question I ask everybody to end the interview. What does drum corps mean to you? After you've just had
it's just like
this whole thing.
At this point in my life right now, I just think I want it to be a space for me to kind of give back in a way that I don't think I was receiving when I was a member. And I've had such a great experience with a bunch of teachers through all the places that I've marched at too. I just want to be able to be that guy that staff members have been for me, or it's like someone who's super knowledgeable, somebody who's super supportive. I think somebody who's able to not only just like be a good teacher, but also be a good person. And like you can talk to me about like if you're going through, like, if you're a music ed, you want to hear more information about that, or like what being a band director is like, and just what life is like after drum corps. I'd love to offer be of service. I think above all else, I think that's what at this point that's what drum corps is all about to me right now. Just to be of service, just to have fun, which I know is kind of lame. It might seem a little bit lowbrow, but like a lot of my friends, a lot of guys I teach with is like we're all only doing this for like just to teach brass pedagogy and then just for the hang. If the hang isn't there and we're not good, what are we doing? You know? Wow. I just want to teach the fuck out of some kids and just have a good fucking hang after rehearsal. Those are the boxes I'm trying to check. That's what drum corps is to me right now. I just want to teach good. I want to be good, and I just want to
be with good people.
Hang afterwards, man. Especially like the guys from Cavaliers and the guys in Spirit. We know how to hang, bro. That's what I love about these guys, man. Is that we know how to teach, but we know how to hang too. Best hang, most staff and drum corps. We always love to say, and just like we just have the best hang.
I absolutely love it. I think that's the most important part. If you're not having fun, why are we doing it? Why are we out here? I mean, you spend thousands of dollars as a staff. You're not getting paid a ton to go out and do this. So like, if you're not having a good time and having fun with the people around you, there's no point. Like we're wasting all our time if we're not having a good time, you know?
Yeah.
This has been an incredible conversation. Like I've learned so much from you, just with you talking about your experience in the activity. Like I've gotten to learn so much today. I just want to thank you for coming on because
absolutely, bro.
This was so much fun for me. Like this was an interview. This was for you. Like you were somebody that I knew I wanted to talk to when I started this podcast. I was like, I would love to get your perspective because when I met you in 2017 versus when when we kept seeing each other on the road, you're just not afraid to be yourself. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because I just know like you are who you are. And I love that. Like you've always just been yourself. So I'm like, I just wanted to hear your perspective. And I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you for asking me, especially when I guilted you on Facebook in the comments on one of your episodes too.
I knew
sorry,
exactly
I
when I
was
saw the
being-
fucking notification Matthew Ezeh commented. I was like, I'm fucked. I'm so
Dude,
fucked.
I only get on Facebook just to talk shit now. I do need to.
Just to talk shit.
I need to put like a proper update, like, oh, I moved
In the
I did this
bio.
and did that. Yeah, I know. I need to put like a bio and let people know what I'm up to. But I really want to get
Yeah.
on there to talk shit now. But nah, bro, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Again, certified
100%.
yapper. Love you. Asked great questions.
Oh.
Super glad we got to meet in 2017. I mean, you were one of like the second year vets who were like actually valid, like knew what the fuck they were doing and knew how to get their shit done. And it was like, oh, like, all right, this is someone that like, I should be looking up to because they know how this shit goes, and they're not someone that's like being a dick about it either. So,
Oh my God.
yeah, man. I mean, you knew more than me. I didn't know shit about shit, so definitely knew more than me. Absolutely, bro.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. With that, this has been episode 18 of the Meet the Bus podcast. At this point, when the podcast comes out, I made a guest appearance last week on the On a Water Break podcast with some really cool people over there. Got to talk about some good things. So definitely go check that out. And in the meantime, I think that's it. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next week.